நீங்கள் பார்த்து கொண்டிருப்பது உங்கள் கதிர் டிவி.
When they get inside, I request all of you to be quiet and remain silent, right? When we begin the inaugural session.
There is never a Genesis without the Creator. Let's start this pleasant occasion giving glory to the Almighty, who is the most beneficent and entirely merciful. In the name of Allah, I begin. When we place our hopes on Him, He showers His blessing on us. So, with hope, a very pleasant morning to this beautiful gathering. Prayer is a center where the will of God Almighty is known. Prayer guides the little wills of men. The purpose is known only by the taskmaster Almighty. Now, it's time for reciting Qiraat. I here welcome one of my colleagues, Mr. Fahimullah, to commence the program with Qiraat.
Assalamu alaikum. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ya'lamu annama al-hayatud dunya la'ib. أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب وله وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد كمثل غيث أعجب الكفار نباته ثم يهيج فتراه مصفرا ثم يكون حطاما وفي الآخرة عذاب شديد ومغفرة من الله ورضوان وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور صدق الله العظيم.
Thank you, Fahimullah. Now I call upon Sultan of 3rd BA English for the translation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, know that the life of this world is but amusement and diversion and adornment and boasting to one another and competition in increase of wealth and children. Like the example of rain, whose resulting plant growth pleases the tillers when it dries, and you see it turned yellow when it becomes scattered debris. And in the hereafter is severe punishment and forgiveness from Allah and approval. And what is the worldly life except the enjoyment of delusion? அளவற்ற அருளாளனும் நிகரற்ற அன்போடையவனுமாகிய அல்லாஹ்வின் திருப்பெயரால் ஆரம்பம் செய்கிறேன். அறிந்து கொள்ளுங்கள், நிச்சயமாக இவ்வுலக வாழ்க்கை விளையாட்டும் வேடிக்கையும் அலங்காரமுமே ஆகும். மேலும் அது உங்களிடையே பெருமையடித்துக் கொள்வதும் பொருட்களையும் சந்ததிகளையும் பெருக்குவதுமே ஆகும். இது மழையின் உதாரணத்துக்கு ஒப்பாகும். அதாவது அது முளைப்பிக்கும் பயிர் விவசாயிகளை ஆனந்தப்படுத்துகிறது. ஆனால் சீக்கிரமே அது உலர்ந்து மஞ்சள் நிறமாவதை நீர் காண்கிறீர். பின்னர் அது கூலமாகி விடுகிறது. உலக வாழ்வும் இத்தகையது. எனவே உலக வாழ்வில் மயங்கியோருக்கு மறுமையில் கடுமையான வேதனையுண்டு. நம்பிக்கையாளர்களுக்கு அல்லாஹ்வின் மன்னிப்பும் அவன் பொருத்தமும் உண்டு. ஆகவே இவ்வுலக வாழ்க்கை ஏமாற்றும் சொற்ப சுகமே தவிர வேறு இல்லை. அத்தியாயம் 20 வசனம் 57. அஸ்ஸலாமு அலைக்கும் வரஹ்மத்துல்லாஹ்.
Thank you, Sultan. Now it's time to pay obeisance to our mother tongue. Tamil Thai Valthu by Miss P. Abhinaya and team.
ஆரும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்து கெளிலொழுகும் சீராரும் வதனமென திகழ் பரத கண்டமிழில் தெக்கணமும் அதிசிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை நுதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனெங்கே தமிழனெங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திரும்பி அந்த செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்ததுமே வாழ்த்ததுமே வாழ்த்ததுமே.
Thank you, girls. Hospitality is unarguably one of the defining qualities of our college. Our measurable hearts become immeasurable when our guests are around us. Thus, to formally welcome the gathering, may I now invite the person who has always been a great support and the pillar of our department, Dr. s.muthamil, Head Research Department of English, to deliver the welcome address.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most beneficent, respected dignitaries on the dais and faculty members, heads of the departments, participants from various colleges of the dais. It's my pleasure to offer welcome address on this occasion. To begin with, this is the 10th conference being organized by the Department of English. We started with literary translation in 2009, English language teaching in 2010, Indian writing in English in 2011, English literature teaching in 2012, travel writing through the ages in 2014, print and electronic media in 2015, biographies in English in 2016, 21st century fiction in 2017, contemporary literature theory and practice in 2018. On this occasion, I am thankful to Dr. K. Ganesh, Associate Professor and Head of the Department of English of Madras Christian College, for having suggested this topic, drama as a multimedial narrative. Thank you, sir. I take this opportunity to welcome the people who made this day today here. It's my pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to our beloved principal, Dr. M. Muhammad Sadiq, who is the backbone to our department, and he is supporting the department in all possible ways. The college is bubbling with activities under the guidance of Dr. Sadiq, the principal of this premier institution. I extend a very warm welcome to you, sir. It's my pleasure to extend a warm welcome to the beloved director, Dr. A. Abdul Qadir. You know him very well. He's a very good reader. Recently, he has completed 3 books. Chidambaram's, Speaking Truth to Power, and Shashidharu's India, an Area of Darkness. And now he is reading Yashwant Sinha's India Unmade. Yeah, it's a very good inspiration to young teachers, scholars and students. On behalf of the Department of English, I extend a very warm welcome to you, sir. Yeah, as the guest of honor, Dr. K. Ganesh, pointed out when we were talking in the morning at the restaurant, he's rightly pointed out, Hanif, this has been a very long dream, comes a reality today. We've been in touch with each other for the last 5 years. First time I met Dr. K. Ganesh at VOC College when he gave a legendary talk on Shakespeare, the legendary dramatist. I got his telephone number, I got his mobile phone number at that time. I contacted him frequently. I waited for an occasion. When I heard that he was an expert in drama, I was very happy to organize this session today in the gracious presence of the legendary, tall, towering figure, Dr. Ganesh Kumar. I extend a very warm welcome on behalf of the principal, the management, and the Department of English. We heartily welcome you, sir. Another excellent personality, Professor Chandradasan. It was a shock to us when we heard that he is a professor of chemistry. He is the founder of Logadharmi Theatre. I believe he will take us to a new world today. New Loga. In Malayalam, Loga means Logam, Ulagam. Right. Thank you, sir. And on this occasion, I am extremely thankful to Dr. David of Bharatiyar University. I got his number. I got this great personality's number from Dr. David of Bharatiyar University. When I contacted him over phone, he was very, very cordial till now. He was very humble to accept. We don't know. He is a very, very strong personality in the drama of in the genre of drama. He is the founder of a theatre, Logadharmi Theatre, and we are fortunate enough to have him on this occasion. I extend a very warm welcome to you, sir, on behalf of everybody. Dr. Ilango, Associate Professor and Head of the Department of English of the American College. He is going to deliver a talk on drama as a multimedial narrative. Sir will join us for the session in the afternoon. On behalf of the Department of English, I extend a very warm welcome to Sir. We have invited Dr. A. Nematullah, former Head of the Department of English, Dr. B. Benison Tilahar Kirsadas, Associate Professor of English of St. John's College, then Dr. S. Jayanti, Assistant Professor of English, Sri Ramaswamy Naidu Memorial College, to serve as resource persons. They will join us very shortly. I extend a very warm welcome to them. It's my pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to the Organizing Secretary, Lieutenant Dr. K. Sayyid Badusa, who is the man behind all these activities today. He was running pillar to post to host this seminar today. He has been spending his day and night with the Kasi graphics to execute so many things to see the smooth conduct of this program today. Equally, I am happy to welcome and thank Dr. Yunus, my colleague, who has contributed tremendously for this seminar. Yesterday he went to Madurai Airport to receive Professor Chandradasan, and he is with us for the whole week to see things done in a very smooth manner. I extend a very warm welcome to Dr. Yunus. It's my pleasure to welcome the colleague, every one of you, to this seminar. My pleasure to welcome our beloved Head of the Department of Physics, Professor K. Rabi Ahmed. Sir is retiring this year. He has served in various capacities as a placement officer, as IQAC coordinator. Under his coordinatorship, the college got 3.4 out of 4 in the third re-accreditation during the assessment by the NAC. I extend a very warm welcome to you, sir. It's my pleasure to welcome the Head of the Department of History, Dr. Nasir Ahmed, the Head of the Department of PG and Research, Department of Computer Science, Dr. Shajun Nisa. It's my pleasure to welcome the Manager, Unaided Stream, Mr. Kathir Aulia, Dr. Anita from the Department of English of the Unaided Stream, faculty members from various colleges, and participants from various colleges, especially my scholar, Raja Rajeshwari from St. Xavier's College, Mrs. B. Soundri from St. Xavier's College. They are our regular contributors to our journal and our conferences. Dr. Princey, welcome, madam. And all the participants from different colleges, you have made this day. I extend a very warm welcome to one and all my students. Yes, my student friends. I extend a very warm welcome to one and all. Welcome, one and all. Thank you. Yes, even though I forgot, I should not miss. It's my responsibility, and it's my pleasure to extend a very, very warm, cordial welcome to Mr. Engineer LKMA Muhammad Nawab Hussain sir, Executive Member and Patron College Managing Committee. I extend a very warm welcome on behalf of the Principal, Director and the Department of English. Welcome, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your warm welcome. Like the headlines in a newspaper, an introduction before a presentation is very much important. Therefore, before proceeding with the session, I request Lieutenant Dr. K. Said Ali Badusha, Assistant Professor of English and Associate NCC Officer, for introducing the theme, Drama as a Multimedial Narrative. Please, sir.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Distinguished guests of honor on the dais, my dear participants, research scholars, assistant professors, associate professors from various colleges, far and near, learned heads of departments, professors, students of the Department of English of Sadaqatullah Upper College. It gives me immense pleasure to stand before you all to introduce the theme of the one-day national conference on drama as a multimedial narrative. Really, I'm so happy and content that the great national event has come to its proper form. Alhamdulillah. Dear all, I would like to give you all, as it is customary, I have to, as the organizing secretary of this national conference, introduce the theme of this conference. As you all know, what is drama? Drama is action. It is full of characters, actors impersonating great personalities. Dramas are full of actions, reactions, and interactions. We all know. And then what it gives us the complexities of life in a vivid and picturesque manner. As we have arranged a conference on drama as a multimedial narrative, we have to go a little back to the history. Drama, as we all know, was introduced by the Romans. Romans were the earliest exponents of drama. It was the Romans who gave us the first form of drama to the entire world. During the medieval period, we got the place, namely the mummers' place. Those days, for giving performance to a larger audience, the actors traveled far and wide. They visited a lot of places to give performance. They gave performance and got in return not money but hospitality. They got in return hospitality. And then with regard to English drama is concerned, the earliest formally developed plays particularly between the 10th and 14th century, were the mystery and miracle place. As we all know, the evolution in the very beginning, we gave a lot of significance to religion, rituals, religious practices, particularly the Christianity. In line with this, the mystery and miracle place were on Bible stories. And then by the 15th century, these plays became old-fashioned and gave rise to the professional theaters. They came in. The first play in English, namely The Tragedy of Mariam, was brought out in the year 1613. It was by a female dramatist, namely Elizabeth Tanfield Carey. She brought it out. In course of time, we have the varieties of dramatic forms: juggling, clowning, farce, comedy, pageants, historical drama, May games, mass, pastoral plays. At last, what we have today, we all know, the modern and postmodern plays. As I have told you of the plays, the performances, we have to have a glance about the playwrights. As for the playwrights, to begin with regard to the English drama is concerned, the Elizabethan age gave us our legendary playwright. Who is it? The great, ever-shining dramatist, well-known in English drama. Who is it? William Shakespeare. So, the age of Elizabethan gave us William Shakespeare and his accompanied contemporary Christopher Marlowe. And then the modern age presented us Henry Gibson, G.B. Shaw, Bertolt Brecht. Similarly, we have the elegant dramatists, namely Eugene O'Neill, Tennessee Williams, Arthur Miller, Neil Simon. These dramatists of America are well known for their realist, naturalist, expressionist dramas in America. And as we have talked of all these things, we have to have a look into our Indian drama and Indian dramatists. Here, with regard to Indian dramatists are concerned, we have the great Rabindranath Tagore, Badal Sarkar, Vijay Tendulkar, Mahesh Tatani, and Girish Karnad. All these Indian playwrights concentrated and they wrote plays on nationalism, identity, spiritualism, material greed. With regard to the present context, I told you all something about the origin and development of English drama, its context in India, in America. Now, I have to tell you how it is presently. With regard to the present context, with the advent of multimedia equipment, we have a lot of electrical, electronic, attractive devices today with which the drama is being taught, practiced, perfected further. And then I have to tell you the difference between reading a play and watching a play on stage, right? So reading a play depends upon the cognitive capacity of an individual. At the same time, stage performances are highly self-explanatory. They have everything within. They give us a multi-sensory access in terms of multimedia elements such as music, sound effects, lightings, background voice, costumes, colorful stage decorations, stage props. All these are there to attract the viewers, audience. While reading is just limited to mental perception, watching a drama would be more lively, picturesquely. I hope we have our resourceful invited speakers. I hope they would enlighten us They would take us to greater heights as to the present forms of drama, the dramatic forms which are flourishing with the advent of the multimedia equipment. Thank you so much, the authorities, with which I would like to conclude my theme on this one-day national conference on drama as a multimedial narrative. Thank you so much for your patience listening. Thank you.
In the words of John Quincy Adams, if your action inspire others to dream more, then learn more and become more. You are a leader. At this juncture, I would like to attribute this proverb to our beloved principal, Dr. Muhammad Sadiq, who has been leading us towards a goal. Now, I request our principal to deliver his presidential address.
In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. If you could count up the favors of God, never would you be able to number them. For God is oft forgiving and most merciful, says the Holy Quran. Respected chief guests of this fine occasion, Dr. Ganesh, Associate Professor and Head of the Department of English, Madras Christian College, Chennai. Respected Professor Chandra Dasan, Artistic Director, Logadharmi Theatre, writer and actor from Kerala. Respected Executive Committee Member Al-Haj Nawab Hussain Saab. Respected Director of Self-Financing Courses, Dr. Abdul Qadir. Respected Dr. Hanif, and the Head of the Department of English. Respected Organizing Secretary, Dr. Badshah. Respected faculty members, respected Dr. Nehmatullah, our former HOD of English. Respected Dr. Rabi Ahmad sir, Dr. Nazir, and the faculty members from Department of English, Dean of Arts, Dr. Mahadevan, the HOD of PG HOD of Computer Science, Dr. Nisha, faculty members from friendly institutions, and my dear student friends. Really, I feel very happy that the Department of English of our college is organizing a one-day national conference on drama as a multimedial narrative. Change is the only thing which never changes, isn't it? We are going on changing ourselves. Paradigm shift is the mandatory of a human life. There should be a paradigm shift all the time. There is no paradigm shift, then we are stagnant, we are static, we are not dynamic. Be a dynamic human, we should be having a paradigm shift. I read a book by Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. In the book, he narrates the importance of paradigm shift. He simply says a small event or story to explain what is a paradigm shift, how it occurs in a human life. It was a dark night in the middle of Pacific Ocean. Abraham Lincoln II, the world's greatest naval ship, is sailing, the ship of United States of America. You know, such a great ship with great power. The captain of the ship was captaining the ship. There was a message from the other side. Change yourself, your course of travel 15 degrees south. This was a message received from the other end. The message was passed to the captain of the ship. You know, so timid because he's a captain of a great, powerful ship of the world. He replied, I will never change myself, you change yourself 15 degrees north. This was the message given back to the other side. After a few seconds, second message came from the other side. Immediately change yourself 15 degrees south or else face collision. This is the second message from the other side. As you know, the people are so timid to change. Second time also he sent the message back to the other side. I will never change myself. Change yourself 15 degrees north instead of myself changing 15 degrees south. And finally, the third message came from the other side. You know what is the message? Change yourself 15 degrees south or else face a collision. I cannot change myself because I am a lighthouse. I hope you understand the concept here. Lighthouse can give only the message. It's the duty of the traveler to change his perception, to change his paradigm. Unless otherwise we are ready to change ourselves according to the nature of the life, nature of the law, we could not stand. So I request all the participants here, you are given a full day of knowledge, full day of wisdom by elderly people, by scholarly people presenting here. You should have a paradigm shift. You should have a paradigm shift. After listening to this conference, after listening to this seminar, each and everybody should have a paradigm shift. We should not be static always in our lifetime. We have to be dynamic. We should have greater paradigm shifts to reach greater goals. So with this view, because the time is at least around 11 o'clock, we have to start the session at 11. I express my heartfelt thanks to the organizers for organizing such a wonderful conference with wonderful scholars and resource persons. Really, I feel happy to see great scholars on the dais. When I see them, I have an inspiration in my mind. The body language, the way they are presenting themselves with their dress, with their body language. Really, I am admiring such a wonderful members, wonderful scholars are coming to our campus. Please utilize the chance. Please utilize the scholarly outlook. Please utilize the contents they are going to deliver. So I express my heartfelt thanks once again to the Department of English for organizing such a wonderful seminar. I welcome our Executive Committee member Alhaji Insha Miran Sahab to this one-day national seminar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Like the rainwater bringing life and prosperity to the land, his words bring enthusiasm and strength in our hearts. I now request Dr. A. Abdul Qadir, Director of Unaided Courses and the Head of the PG Department of English, to deliver his felicitation.
Invoking the blessings of the Almighty, the most merciful, the most gracious. Respected guests of honor today, Dr. K. Ganesh, Associate Professor and Head of the Department of English, Madras Christian College, Chennai, and Professor Chandra Dasan, Artistic Director, Writer and Actor from Kerala. Respected Principal of our college, Dr. Mohammed Sadiq, respected Executive Committee members, LKMA Nawab Hussain Sahib, Haji Insha Miran Sahib, and Professor and Head of the Department of English, Dr. Hanif, and former Professor, Dr. Niyamatullah, and Professor Nazir of History Department, Dr. Rabi Ahmad of Physics Department, and the organizer of this conference, Dr. Badusha, and the Dean of Arts, Dr. Mahadevan, Dr. Kannamuthiya, and Dr. Hema, Professor Khalil, Dr. Nisha, Professor Anida, and other professors from neighboring colleges, friendly institutions, and my dear students, both undergraduate as well as some PG students. I'm really very happy, extremely delighted to see that the Department of English, I think, has done a very exemplary work in organizing this particular conference. And thanks, first of all, to the Department of English, to the entire faculty of English department for the way they have taken the initiatives and the way they have shown their commitment in organizing this seminar. Actually, for 2 months, they have been working very seriously. And today, the 2 months of dedicated work has paid rich dividends in the form of great men adorning the stage today, the 2 great personalities. And I have closely observed Dr. Hanif, all the time, being very, very patient, but at the same time, very much focused, almost engrossed in the work assigned to him. And he will always try to do his best. He has the knack of getting things impeccably correct. And finally, he would accomplish any task, any feat, with a mark of finesse and beauty. That's what I have been seeing in him. I have been closely watching him, And today, he easily gets along with his entire colleague, with his entire faculty. He goes an extra mile in ensuring the backing up of the whole department till the last minute, till the last breath. Yesterday, he went to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. He and Dr. Balsa were here on the campus till 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm also quite envious of the fact that he has got very good connections. He has some well-established connections. See, for the last 4-5 years, he has been closely contacting, closely following Dr. Ganesh. And he has been very, very keen on bringing him. Today, nearly after 4-5 years, he has brought him here to our college. He has the knack of zooming in and zeroing on the most important personalities. And finally, he succeeds. On behalf of the management, the college, I extend a very, very hearty thanks to Dr. Hanif. And look at these great gentlemen, Dr. Ganesh and Professor Sandardasan. For a long time, nearly about 5-6 years, we intellectuals, professors, teachers, in all colleges, especially in the Department of English, have been hearing all about Dr. Ganesh. Whenever I talk to any great professor working in a university, in a college, they would always refer to the name Dr. Ganesh. And he is coming from the most reputed institution, Madras Christian College. To add a personal note, some 40 years ago, when I did my first MA in St. John's, Dr. Francis Soundarraj was the head of the department. When I moved to the second year, he had been promoted to Madras Christian College. He took charge as the head of the department of Madras Christian College. He is now, I heard from Dr. Ganesh, he is now 86 years old man, a great stalwart in the field of English literature. And he has that lineage. Dr. Ganesh, has that lineage. He represents the fountainhead of English literature, MCC, Madras Christian College. He is widely known in academic circles. Tomorrow there is going to be a conference at Leto College on literary theories. He is going there tomorrow. He is traveling across the whole state, visiting universities, colleges, delivering lectures. The most sought after personality. That's what I heard here. I haven't heard him so far, and today it's a very big opportunity here. And drama and literary criticism. To the scholars here, to the teachers, I would like to make this important point. Drama and literary criticism are his forte. Drama and criticism are his strong areas of interest and excellence. His in-depth study of these two genres, drama as well as literary criticism, is really very astounding, people say. More than that, his eloquence, his oratory, and his mastery of the subjects definitely are going to be mind-blowing. They'll say, normally all scholars say, he will keep his audience spellbound. And look at the figure, tall man, and look at his voice, booming voice. I hope, he will hold sway over the audience today. And we are really gifted to have him in our midst. Dr. Sandardasan from Cochin is a playwright, a dramatist, an actor. He has directed about 35 plays in different languages, in Tamil, Malayalam, Hindi, as well as English. And he has won numerous state awards, national awards. And he has gone to America on Fulbright scholarship to do research to establish or to see the connection between drama and the influence of drama on society. Yeah. And normally he visits universities and colleges giving lectures. Yeah. So definitely it's going to be a rare opportunity to find these two gentlemen, adorning the stage. And drama, finally, drama has evolved during the last 20th century. Yeah. Dr. Badshah mentioned from Henrik Ibsen, the great dramatist, Doll's House, many of you would have definitely studied, from Henrik Ibsen through Eugene O'Neill, through Tennessee Williams, up to Samuel Beckett, the theatre of the absurd. Samuel Beckett and Edward Albee, John Osborne. Yeah. Much has actually flown under the brush here. Till now, they say we have seen realism, realistic dramas. We have seen symbolism in dramas, expressionism in plays. Yeah. But what is shocking today in modern dramas, there is so much of content which is unrestrained, which is to a certain extent very controversial, offensive, to a certain extent prohibitive also. Yeah. This is the major issue, that should be addressed by great personalities like Dr. Ganesh and Professor Sundar Darshan. They say, it is the reflective of the society. What we see in society is getting reflected in dramas. Yeah. Everything is being discussed. Secondly, Dr. Badshah, mentioned, with the advent of digital technology, the path-breaking event is the multimedia. The question is how we are going to craft plays to suit the needs of the multimedia. And scholars, teachers, and students today will have to take the cue from these great gentlemen on how to explore dramas. Like our principal said, there must be a paradigm shift. So long in southern part of India, teachers, scholars, mostly focus on fiction. Indian fiction or foreign fiction, yeah. So you can shift from your attention from fiction to drama. The conference, will definitely, I hope, will give you the right spark, a kind of ignition to take up research in your dramas, in your research. Finally, I want to say, most of our teachers, scholars, you have to imbibe the qualities of these great gentlemen, right? I want some of you, many of my students, our students, want to be professors of English. So I want some of you to become great academicians like Dr. Ganesh. I also want some of you to become performance artists, playwrights, and you can even think of taking up some innovative work. You can also start writing dramas. And the future is very, very promising. English is not going to be a great barrier, and there is so much of English proficiency among our students, and definitely I hope we will rise to the occasion and do something great in the field of literature. Thank you for the opportunity given. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Robin Sharma once said, "Without integrity and honor, everything means nothing." Now, it's time to honor our dignitaries. May I now kindly request our beloved principal to distribute the memento to our honorable chief guest, Dr. K. Ganesh, Associate Professor and Head, Department of English, Madras Christian College, Chennai. Please, sir. Thank you, sir. Now I request our director, Dr. A. Abdul Qadir, sir, to honor our guest speaker, Professor Chandradasan, Artistic Director, Logadharmi Theatre, writer and actor, Kochi, Kerala, with a memento. Thank you, sir. Now may I call upon Dr. A. Nematullah, former head of the Department of English, to honor Professor K. Rabi Ahmed, head of the Department of Physics, with a memento. Thank you, sir. Now I invite Dr. S. Muhammad Hanif, head of the Department of English, to honor Engineer LKMA Mohammad Nawab Hussain, Executive Member of the Managing Committee, with a memento. Thank you, sir. Now, Dr. S. Khalil Ahmed, Assistant Professor of English, will honor Al-Haj K. Miran Mohideen, sir, with a memento. Thank you, sir. Once again, I request Dr. Muhammad Hanif, Head of the Department of English, to honor our beloved Principal, Dr. M. Mohammed Sadiq, with a memento. Thank you, sir. Now I call upon Dr. Yunus Ahmed Mohammed Sharif, Assistant Professor of Department of English, to honor our Director, Dr. A. Abdul Qadir, sir, with a memento. Thank you, sir. Now, Dr. K. Hema, Assistant Professor of English, will honor Dr. P. Anita Nyanamuthu, Head of the Department of English, unaided, with a memento. Thank you, ma'am. Now, our Director, Dr. A. Abdul Qadir, sir, would honor Dr. Kamaluddin, sir, Head Department of Chemistry. Thank you, sir. Now, Lieutenant K. Dr. K. Said Ali Badusha, sir, Assistant Professor of English, will honor our former Head of the Department of English, Dr. A. Neamatullah, with a memento. Thank you, sir. Now, our Chief Guest, Dr. K. Ganesh, Associate Professor and Head, Department of English, Madras Christian College, Chennai, will honor Dr. S. Muhammad Hanif, Head of the Department of English, with a memento. Thank you, sir. Now, it's time to honor the faculty members of our department for the completion of their doctoral study. I request our Chief Guest, Dr. K. Ganesh, to honor Lieutenant Dr. K. Said Ali Badusha, Assistant Professor of English, with a memento. Dr. K. Said Ali Badusha was guided by our former Head of the Department of English, Dr. Neamatullah, sir. Thank you, sir. I now request Professor Chandradasan, sir, to honor Dr. Yunus Ahmed Mohammed Sharif, Assistant Professor of English, with a memento. Thank you, sir. May I request Dr. K. Ganesh and Professor Chandradasan, our guests of honor, to release the special edition of the Sadakat Journal. Please, sir. Ahmed, Assistant Professor of English, to give an introductory note about our guest of honor, Dr. K. Ganesh, Associate Professor and Head, Department of English, Madras Christian College, Chennai.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I deem it my immense pleasure to stand in front of you to introduce the guest of honor of this time, Dr. K. Ganesh, who serves as the Associate Professor and Head of the Department of English at Madras Christian College. He did his BA English Language and Literature at Loyola College, Chennai, and MA English with Madras Christian College, Chennai, and completed MPhil at the University of Madras, and completed PhD at Madras Christian College, where he is right now working with. He has a rich experience of 33 years in teaching and as well as research. His field of specialization is metadrama in both Oriental and Occidental traditions. His area of interest in both teaching and research are theatres of the world, film studies, literature, ecology and development, critical theory, English studies in India and India studies, Shakespeare in diverse contexts, travel writing and post-colonialism, gender study and spirituality, and star studies. As far as his research experience is concerned, he has so far guided some 10 candidates from the University of Madras for their doctoral dissertation, and he has been supervising MPhil dissertation since 1992. With these few words, I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Ganesh. Please, sir.
Dr. Mohammad Satiq, the principal, Dr. Abdul Qadir, director, the dignitaries of the stage now, Professor Chandradasan, whom I befriended this morning, Dr. Muhammad Anif, my longtime friend, head of the Department of English, faculty friends and student friends, good morning. I am truly happy to be a part of this wonderful celebration of theatre and drama. And I'm also happy, let's say, to share the inaugural function with Professor Chandradasan, whom I just told this morning that it is he who matters in such conferences, primarily because he is a proactive director, putting on the boards, let's say, plays that we study, theorize, and talk about in classrooms. And as it is said, let's say it's surprising that he's a professor of chemistry. And today we talk about interdisciplinarity, and we're truly happy that he's able to, say, bring together science and literature together and provide us with insights into life, into culture and things like that. Now, I wish to speak about drama in general and then mainly as a multimedial narrative. Now, these will be the focus areas, right? We very briefly talk about the types of drama, the importance of stage space, theatre as a science system, primarily because whatever happens on theatre, whatever happens on the theatrical space is extremely meaningful. We call that the semiotic signification of both the actors on stage and the set properties, the stage properties. All of them together ultimately provide us with the meaning called a play performance. And it's a play text that gets transformed into a performance text. It is drama to theatre, as we normally speak about it as a transition. And ultimately, drama must become theatre, and watching a play is of utmost significance, because reading a play is a monomedial activity. It's between the reader and the text. But when you watch a play, it's multimedial, primarily because it's the heard and the seen. It's heard and the seen that get together. And quite interestingly, a play like Hamlet provides us with a beautiful, say, paradigm. As the principal mentioned that word paradigm, a paradigm of theatre. You have a ghost narrating a story to Hamlet, and you have Hamlet putting on a particular dumb show with the same story that the ghost narrates. And then he puts on what he calls the mousetrap or murder of Gonzago. So from narration to a monomedial dumb show to a multimedial, say, theatre, called a theatre within the play, a play within the play as we call it. And the success, let's say, of the play is obviously to see in Claudius the pain of having murdered his brother, what we call the dark night of an individual soul experienced by him. And Hamlet himself makes a statement in the second act of the play is the thing wherein I will catch the conscience of the king. Now today, let's say as say readers of plays and theatre practitioners like Professor Chandradasan, I think we all believe that, say, a play is a thing wherein we can catch the conscience of society, of culture, of all those things, let's say, that compose what we actually call our civilization. So the fourth one will be a stage-centered reading, which is exactly what I talked about. That what is kept on stage is so very important. What is kept on stage, let's say, obviously acquires, let's say, more significance. From a flower vase, let's say, to a Christmas tree. Since the director mentioned Doll's House, Henrik Ibsen's play, you have a Christmas tree in the play, and around the Christmas tree, near the Christmas tree, let's say, near the Christmas tree, you have a family collapsing. Right? When Christmas tree represents harmony, let's say disharmony is suggested, let's say, in the conflict between Torvald Helmer and Nora Helmer. So everything that's kept on the stage, let's say, acquires significance. So that will be the stage-centered reading. Then you have, let's say, the denotation, connotation, dialectics that is called in theatrical discourse. That nothing on stage is denotative, meaning they are not kept for its own sake because they serve a purpose. right? Everything that is kept on stage serves a purpose. Say sometime, let's say a very ordinary thing, I read a theatrical note, let's say when an actor of a modern play, obviously dealing with conflict, let's say he's a chief person, let's say in that play, and he was performing, let's say for a particular period of time, and if he met with an accident, let's say he had a fractured hand. And so he was in a plaster of Paris cast, and he performed plays after that because he's the only fellow who could do that, let's say. Then critics immediately interpreted that plaster of Paris cast as fractured existence and so on. You understand? You can go overboard sometimes. Let's say it is a real fracture, but you understand it as fractured existence, complexity of life and things like that. So anyway, we need to focus on the denotation, connotation, dialectics, and then the performer-spectator dialectics, because without an audience, let's say a play never takes off at that particular point. And the last point that I will discuss is cultural appropriations and semiotic multidimensionality with regard to appropriations of plays, let's say that happens in the context of all great plays. Let's say, as I was talking to Professor Chandradasan this morning, say he is able to take plays from all cultures, all media, let's say, and then provide what you will call a local flavor, indigenization as we call that particular process. Now this is quickly we'll go through. Let's say it's a multimedial form which I mentioned. And closet drama is designed to be read. It's monomedial. Poetic drama, let's say, which was revived by Eliot in 1965 when he wrote Murder in the Cathedral, let us say, is again a play, though it was performed, many times performed. It prioritizes the dramatic text. And then what we are all familiar with is what we call the absolute drama. Right? The fourth wall theater, the absolute drama, where the illusion shown on stage is considered to be absolutely real. Right? And we are, in one sense, watching through a window, watching through a wall, let's say, that is invisible. And when that absolute drama happens, let's say it's a fictional world which acquires, let's say, an illusion of reality. Right? Absolute drama. And then in contrast, we had something called epic drama, the epic theater as we call it today, which uses epic devices, such as the narrator or teller figure. Not that narrators and teller figures had not been there in classical drama, for example, in Greece, in India. Let's say it has always been there. But an epic drama is a stark contrast to absolute drama. Absolute drama, let's say you watch that play, watch that world, let's say, that is presented on stage as absolutely real, without interfering with it, without breaking that particular illusion. Right? Without breaking that particular illusion, like in Midsummer Night's Dream, Shakespeare erects a phenomenal metaphor that, like in a dream, while you are dreaming, the dream is real. You may wake up and then ultimately say the dream is unreal, but while you are dreaming, the dream is real. So an absolute drama is real as long as you are absolutely absorbed in that particular performance. So generally speaking, we divide drama into two types, absolute drama and epic drama. Right? Later on, I'll use the term bourgeois text, which is a Marxian term, and a radical text. Right? But these are the points that we will deal with. So these are the types of drama that we will say quickly, gloss over. Then the elements of theater, which is most important. Right? The set. Right? Anything, let's say, that is kept on stage, as I told you, acquires a semiotic significance. Right? The backdrop is extremely important. Now, while you say that the backdrop is extremely important, there have been theaters. Let's say, where you have a minimal backdrop. Right? A Shakespearean play, when you look at Globe Theatre, let's say when you watch the performances, when they simulate a Globe Theatre performance, you see very clearly that not many objects are kept on stage. Now, in contrast, if you watch a G.B. Shaw play, so many things are kept on stage. That's the difference. Right? G.B. Shaw keeps so many things. It's almost cluttered. The whole place is cluttered with objects when G.B. Shaw, let's say, makes or gives you a kind of a note of what are the things that should go on to that particular stage. So the set is very important. And how did Shakespeare achieve, let's say, the stage properties, the set properties? Language did everything. Right? Language did everything. Twelfth Night is a beautiful beginning. What country is this, my lord? She says, this is Illyria lady. The captain says, this is Illyria lady. So the word Illyria is connected with illusion. You create that particular illusion. The set is created sometimes by language. And don't forget, let's say, until the, say, closed theaters came up, Shakespeare performed most of his plays, let's say, between 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And there are so many night scenes in the play. And how do you simulate a night scene? Imagine a man like a fool carries a candle in his hand at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and say it is dark. Now you need to believe it. Right? You need to get into that particular illusion, and that set will obviously, he had no choice, no chance of, let's say, making it dim or otherwise, until, let's say, the later closed theaters came into existence. So the set is extremely important. Right? In a play script, you have the set, which is obviously described as the initial block stage direction. It tells you what you are going to see. Right? It tells you what you are going to see. Then we have the properties, let's say, that set of movable objects needed by the actors. Now, for me, the property plot, as it is called technically, the movable objects sometimes, or most often, I should say, become an extension of an actor's emotion. Right? Whether he holds a scepter in his hand, or Richard II holds a mirror in his hand, Hamlet holds a skull in his hand, whatever that stage property is, they become part and parcel of the meaning-making process. Right? It does become a part and parcel of the meaning-making process. Let us say, so that is the most important thing. Let's say the actorly play script to the property plot. Right? We technically call the properties on stage as property plot, and plot, you know, is a way in which you structure a story. Right? The word plotting in the dramatic parlance would mean structuring a particular story. Then you make a distinction. I'll come to these two words again later. The primary text of a play script consists in speeches of characters. Like it was said in the inaugural function, let's say drama means action. Right? Without action, even in an absurd play where nothing happens, a lot of things happen. Right? Nothing happens in an absurd play, a lot of things happen in an absurd play. Right? Movement, let's say, may be limited, but yet a lot of movement with regard to the psyche of a character ultimately is foregrounded or showcased by a great actor. So the play text, the primary text of the play script, we know that simplest definition of drama is story in dialogue form. Right? Story in dialogue form is the simplest definition for, say, drama. And then you have prologues and epilogues, right, traditionally speaking. And then, you know, a prologue is introductory and an epilogue is the benedictory or concluding speech of any play. So a prologue at the beginning, let's say, prologue in the beginning and the epilogue at the end, these two ultimately will provide you with a frame, right? Will provide you with a frame. But for directors, let's say play directors, both the set property or the property plot, the set and the dialogues will be their cue, let's say, to use their own creativity to present their plays. And then the secondary text, the play's title, subtitle. Very interestingly, let's say today not many plays have subtitles, but we do have, for example, Twelfth Night or What You Will. Right? What daring, let's say in the 16th century for Shakespeare, let's say almost to appear very postmodern. I'll call it Twelfth Night, call it What You Will kind of thing. Right? Or let's say you have Sea Troops to Conquer or Mistakes of the Night. Right? You have alternative titles. You have subtitles, let's say, that can provide a lot of meaning. Let's say a lot of meaning in that particular context. Right? Othello, the Moor of Venice. Let's say, why a Moor of Venice? Venice is the ordered, structured, civilized, say, world, as opposed to the word Moor, which had acquired, let's say, negative resonances for a black man. So the Moor of, as long as he is a Moor of Venice, is respected, then otherwise he changes himself into a dark African with evil intent and things like that. So this is the idea. And then we have something called the peritextual element, right, which you call the secondary text elements like subtitle, historical notes, dramatis personae, stage direction, speech prefixes. Right? In Sanskrit drama, for example, let's say most of the stage directions are action oriented. This is a garden. Now I will enter. It's part of the dialogue. Now I will enter is part of the dialogue. Maybe a person like Professor Chandradasan will just make a character enter instead of saying I will enter, or say that I will enter for some effect. So all these, let's say, belong to a particular category called peritextual elements, right? Because they let's say, remain at the periphery of this particular thing. Then we take, let's say, quickly go through this prologue, let's say, to Henry V. Right, of William Shakespeare, because it has all the ingredients of theatre. I'll quickly go through this. Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention, obviously deals with creative inspiration. Fire as an element always has the natural ability to go up only. Right? It has to ascend the heaven of invention. And then, let's say you have a kingdom for a stage, where the stage space by Shakespeare is described. Right? Empty stage, bare stage. Right? A bare stage will transform itself into a kingdom. You may keep a few chairs and tables if possible. But even without that, Shakespeare could possibly create a kingdom on stage. Let's say princess to act. Now you bring in the actors. Let you bring in the actors who will transform themselves into character. Then the major actor who will become the god of war, Mars himself, meaning he will, obviously this is a clue or cue, let's say, to the actor to behave as though he were a god of war. Primarily because the play Henry V deals with the war between England and France. And then let's say you have the second one, the flat unraised spirits, referring to actors. This is almost a disclaimer, one should say, suggesting that Henry V is such a great character. Henry V, let's say, is almost not presentable on stage, is such a, say, epical character. But our actors will not be able to do it. So they are flat, unraised spirits, let's say, who will obviously do what? On this unworthy scaffold. Suddenly the stage face becomes an unworthy scaffold for Shakespeare to bring forth so great an object. And imagine he's going to show a war, a battle of Agincourt, which took place in 1415 between England and France. How many soldiers can you show on stage? 10 this side, 10 that side. But you'll have to create the image of a war. Right? You need to create that illusion of reality called a war. In a movie, it's different. Right? In a movie, it is different. You have that famous line from, say, Dr. Faustus, Marlowe's line, was this the face that launched 1,000 ships? You see the film Troy, they show you 1,000 ships. Whether it is real or computer graphics, it does not matter. 1,000 ships can be shown on a film screen. But on stage, you just have to imagine. Right? The audience's participation is of utmost importance. Let's say that's why he says about can this cockpit, this small stage space, hold the vasty fields of France? Let's say, and all that. Oh, pardon, since a crooked figure may attest in little place a million, and let us ciphers to this great account on your imaginary forces work. The audience members are so very important. And if the audience members are not a number before zero, then the performance is a zero. Right? The performance will be a waste of time. So the audience's imagination, see, on your imaginary forces work. Later on he's going to say, eke out our imperfections with your art. Meaning, whatever you don't see, please fill it up. Right? Please fill it up. It is your imagination that should supply certain things that we are not able to show. Like I told you, was this the face that launched 1,000 ships? Should be imagined while you read it. Or when you read the play, let's say when you watch a play, you should obviously create some semblance of 1,000 ships, let's say with regard to Helen. So in that context, say he has brought in everything in that particular context. Now we move on, let's say, to the next one. Let's say theatre as science systems is what we talk about at this particular time. We know since the advent of linguistic study with regard to what you call structuralism, structural linguistics in particular, a great French a scholar called Ferdinand de Saussure, right? He created a beautiful paradigm with regard to linguistics, talking about two important things. One is called the signifier, the other is called the signified. Now the signifier can be an actor, the signifier can be the set, the signifier can be the stage properties, the signifier can be the words that are there in the dialogues, the signifier can be the use of stage properties in the hands of actors, and the signified ultimately will be the major import of the play, right? The totality of meaning of that particular play. Right? I'm still talking about absolute drama. I'm still talking about conventional, traditional drama, as we are, let's say, waiting to listen to Dr. Chandradasan to deal with postmodern theatre. So in that context, let's say we talk about this absolute, regular drama in this context. Then we use this term meta-language, let's say in the context, to analyze the pictorial, physical, oral languages. So why is meta-language? Language upon language, language under language, language above language, when you use the word meta, like metaphysics. Right? The first thing is pictorial language, which is the set, the property. Physical, which would be the stage properties. Oral will be the heard ones, which is the say, the language spoken on stage. Then we will see later on with the concept of abhinaya, in the context of fourfold abhinaya, we do obviously talk about the language of gestures. Right? An actor can only express himself or herself through the language of gestures. And without that, let's say, no action takes place, no drama takes place. And then, say, the meaning of a script to the meaning of performance. Like I told you, a play text must definitely become a performance text. Right? In other words, drama is perception. Drama is a very, very significant perception. Let's say, and what you present on stage is very important, as our director talked about, offensive material, let's say, and all that. Let's say we need to be obviously presenting visions, presenting perceptions which are vital, right? Vital to the development of human consciousness. right? Drama, like any art form, or any one of the five fine art forms like music, literature, painting, sculpture, and architecture, one basic purpose is consciousness raising. Right? It has to obviously make us more sensitive to the issues around us, to the people around us, to the nature around us, and so on. So one important thing is you increase the possibilities of seeing, which means you increase perceptions. Right? You keep increasing the perceptions, your modes of perception in that particular context. And today, very interestingly, the new ways have come about where you interrogate the text. Right? Interrogating. How do you interrogate? You take an ancient text, you take a classical text, you take a canonical text, as we use those two terms, let's say a canonical text, and then when you rework on it, right, you rework on it, then you do something really wonderful, which I will talk about when I speak about the cultural multidimensionality. Right, we have so many Shakespeare productions that have come in recent times. One was done by Madras players recently, Julius Caesar. Right? Why do you go back to Shakespeare, or why do you go back to Kalidasa? Why do you go back to Basa? Why do you go back, let's say, to Sophocles? Right? Why do you go back, say, even to people like Antonin Artaud and other, say, avant-garde playwrights, as we call them? So these are the possibilities that you question the text. Right? You interrogate a text, which means you say that every performance is a critical interpretation. Right? A critical interpretation. In today's context, you can say it's a critical political interpretation. Right? No longer do we believe in apolitical drama. In absolute drama, we were speaking about apolitical drama. Epic drama, more often than not, let's say, has a political import. The word politics should not obviously put us off. By political, we mean, let's say, asking very serious questions. Right? Asking serious questions and providing us with modes of performance. And then drama becomes a cultural critique, a network of codified sign systems, because cultural codes, each culture has its own modes, let's say. Now, when you adapt Antigone in the modern Indian context, then obviously your cultural codes are going to be different. Right? Your cultural codes are going to be different. Then it governs behavior, speech, dress, makeup, everything. Which, in other words, what you see on stage, like we say, Elizabethan play is still Elizabethan. Right? A French play is still French, let's say. But we look for universality. We look for things, but the best way to take those great plays is to adapt it in our own contexts. Make it Indian. Let's say make it Chinese, make it Japanese, make it any one of the countries, let's say, which has a glorious, rich, say, tradition in that particular context. Now, what do you look for generally, as I told you? In a stage-centered reading, theater is a very complex, say, activity. It's a complex of phenomena associated with performer, audience, transaction. I like this word transaction because any play performance is something that a communication takes place, but that communication is a kind of a transaction. Right? Something vitally happens in a theatrical space. It has to. You don't go there, let's say, merely to appreciate an actor's performance or an actress's performance. Today we don't use the word actress, she's just actor. Let's say an actor's performance, you don't go there just for that. I'm not saying you should not appreciate. Right? I'm not saying you should not appreciate, but as I told you, it becomes an interrogative experience, that it is this transaction that happens vitally. Later on, I'll mention Badal Sarkar, his third theater, where actors are so sensitized about human issues, human, say, problems, that they will actually be able to transfer that sensitivity to the audience members. So when they leave that stage, let us say, like a principal said, there is a paradigm shift. There has to be a paradigm shift in your thinking process. And in theatrical experience, paradigm shift is to do with perception. Right? It's definitely to do with perception. So in that context, let's say it is a performer, say, audience transaction that happens. Then we have something called dramatic conventions. Right? Every theatrical tradition has its own dramatic conventions. Right? Later on, I told you Shakespeare's stage did not have a screen coming down and going up. In order to suggest the end of something and the beginning of something, words did that. And Shakespeare, you know, used couplets. Right? When a couplet is uttered, you know that the scene is coming to an end. Right? A couplet was the way to tell you a scene is coming to an end. Now later on, let's say we had the screen. Right? We had the screen. In traditional, let's say, Tarukuthu, you have, let's say, the screen in front of the actors. Right? Every character, every actor was introduced with a Gana, with a song called the Dhruva Gana, for example. Right? A song is sung and then a character is introduced. Right? A character is introduced. Right? As a story is told and things like that. But what is important is, let's say, conventions are followed by what you call dramatic propriety. By propriety, let's say the Sanskrit term is auchitya bandha. The English translation or English version is organic construct. That happened till structuralism. The word organic construct with regard to a well-made play was used until the time we did not talk about post-structuralist, postmodern theatre. Right? Everything must be linked with everything else. Right? Everything must be linked with everything else. Let's say nothing should be shapeless, nothing should be amorphous. That's why Cleon Brooks, when he spoke about poetry, said every poem is like a little play where there is no waste motion, no superfluous parts. Even a poem must be structured like a play. That's the metaphor that Brooks uses in his essay Irony as a Principle of Structure. Now, in that context, you have dramatic conventions. Right? You have dramatic conventions, a prologue, then Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4, Act 5, epilogue. Now, these are conventions. You know that it is happening. Right? You know that it is happening. If you take a classical Sanskrit play, it begins with the Nandi, you have a Prastavana, an introductory playlet, then you have Ranga, the play proper, and the Bharatavakya, which is called the benedictory verse. Every play, every tradition will have, no play has its own conventions. Every single theatrical tradition has its dramatic conventions, but traditionally everybody believed in organic construct, right, which you call the dramatic propriety. And then you talk about dramatic structure. It can be a 5-act division. Right? It can be a 5-act division in Shakespearean play, particularly Elizabethan plays, let's say, did have the 5-act divisions, which I will deal with later when I talk about the Freytag pyramid. So then we talk about, I already mentioned primary text, the speeches of characters. Now, the speeches of characters, let's say, are not mere speeches given to characters. They showcase the personality. They showcase the personality, particularly if it's going to be a soliloquy. Right? Particularly if it's going to be a soliloquy, it is going to foreground the whole inner psychic cosmos of an actor. Right? Hamlet speaks the maximum number of soliloquies in Shakespeare. Right? Any dialogue, any speech, any dialogue ultimately is connected with the idea that the characters get foregrounded. Right? What Cleopatra speaks, you don't expect other characters to speak in Antony and Cleopatra, for example. What Hamlet speaks, Polonius cannot speak. So in that context, the primary text becomes important as, say, it foregrounds, essentially foregrounds, and the peritextual elements contribute to the totality of meaning. Now, you take this, the next one, the units of linguistic text translatable into stage practice. Right? Linguistic text must be translatable. Right? That's why I said in the beginning that people like Sir matters with regard to any theatrical, say, experience or any theatrical conference, because it is ultimately the performance that matters. It should become a stage practice. In other words, you can say it's a linguistics transcription of a stage potentiality. What is a stage potentiality? A play text can become a performance text. It can transform itself into a performance text. And then later on, you talk about a complex of reciprocal constraint causing intertextuality. Right? Many of you say who have done, you're doing postgraduate will know a play, great play called Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. Now that play made different kinds of meanings or created different kinds of meaning to different kinds of people. So the intertextuality will obviously mean, let's say, the way you connect. When it was watched in a prison house, Waiting for Godot meant something else. Right? When Waiting for Godot is connected, let's say, to a place which is torn by conflict, then the Godot figure is entirely different. So it obviously acquires a kind of intertextuality. And then the actor, whom I will speak about in greater detail in about 5 minutes, the actor synthesizes the writer's scripting of text and director's scripting of the stage. So he is a, say, intermediate figure. Right? A woman or a man is an intermediate figure when a writer scripts the text and the director scripts for the stage, right? A director is as creative as a playwright is, right? The director is as creative as a playwright is, because I told you in the beginning itself that when a play text is taken for stage production, when you plan to put on the boards, let's say a particular play, it is very clear that you are interpreting it, right? You're interpreting it, and your interpretation shows who you are, what kind of a director you are, and that is why even in England, you have so many Othellos, so many Macbeths, so many Hamlets. Till today, let's say they keep performing the same plays again and again, because every director seems to see something new in that particular play which will suit the cultural context. Then we move on, let's say, to the denotation, say, context. right? The semiotization of props and body mainly. Semiotics is a sign system, sign language, a study of sign language, one should say, right? That initially, when everything begins, say nothing makes sense to you, right? When a Christmas tree is seen on the stage for the first time, I don't think we'll immediately come to know that it is going to serve as a foil to the disharmony in the family life, right? Now, later on, it's only later on that semiotic significations can be assigned to stage properties. Even the human body becomes a semiotic sign, right? It becomes what we use the term embodiment, right? Hamlet embodies consciousness. Othello embodies jealousy, embodies the adverse consequences of jealousy. Macbeth's body will become an embodiment of vaulting ambition and its disastrous consequences. And King Lear, who plays politics with affection, will obviously, his body as an old man, let's say, will embody that particular conflict. And then that's why you keep shifting from primary to secondary meanings. And then these are sign vehicles, right? These are sign vehicles which generate to potentially unlimited range of cultural units. That's why you can do a play again and again and again. Now, we'll very briefly, very quickly speak about the two traditions, Tamil and Sanskrit. Meipadu is a very important term in Tolkappiyam. Mei, you know, is a name for the body, right? Mei is the name that we have for the body. Kai vali nayanam sertal, kan vali manam, manam vali bhavam, bhava vali rasam nitral. Right? Rasa is a Sanskrit term. Rasam is a Tamil word which will talk about that essential emotion that has to get foregrounded through a performance. So, Meipadu is the important idea. And then we have these two terms, Natyadharmi and Lokadharmi, which are normally translated as stage ways and world ways. Right? World ways and stage ways. Let's say, and Sir has the Lokadharmi as his say, theatre name. So, Lokadharmi will be the stage ways. Right? It will be, the world ways, which means you have what you call, later on we use the term verisimilitude, very close to life, but Natyadharmi will be conventions. Natyadharmi more often than not is a mode of production, but Natyadharmi is also a meta level, right? A meta level which becomes non-real. Say they use the word alaukika, for example, right? The Sanskrit word is alaukika. Laukika means the real world, and alaukika will be the non-real world of art, not unreal world, the non-real world of art. Then comes this idea of abhinaya, that there are fourfold abhinaya, right, which is a vehicle of natya, nataka. Angika is body, anga is body, the language of gestures. Vachika is the spoken word. Vak and Vachika is the spoken word. Aharya is given a lot of importance in Natya Shastra. All that you wear or don't wear sometimes becomes extremely significant. Now, in King Lear, very interestingly, it's not a long soliloquy which brings out his tragic vision. A simple expression like unbutton me, right? Unbutton me, right? Or let be in Hamlet. Ripeness is all in King Lear. And the famous soliloquy, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow in Macbeth, right? Now, it is single expression, unbutton me. It's a beautiful, say, Aharya Abhinaya scene, which actually is connected with Angika and with Vachika. What is unbuttoning him in that particular context? The king realizes, as we normally say, the king realizes that he is after all but a man, and he had been playing too much with that idea of kingship. Right? Marlowe says that beautifully, let's say in Edward II, what are kings when regiments gone but perfect shadows of a sunshine day? So that realization comes to Lear and says, unbutton me. An ordinary expression is of such tragic import in that particular play. And Satvika will happen, let's say, naturally to actors when they express emotional states such as horripilation and things like that. Right? Then we quickly go on to, say, mimetic and self-referential dramaturgies. Again, going back, let's say, to the absolute drama situation. Right? Mimesis, you know, is a term that we associate with the Greeks. Mimesis means, let's say, representation. Imitation is a word that we use. But imitation must be properly understood. Imitation is not a photographic representation of life. Imitation is an imaginative recreation of life. Mimesis must be understood that way. And you have a beautiful short poem that most of you must have read as literature students called Ozymandias by Shelley. Right? It's a brilliant poem in which he says, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. Right? Into a piece of sculpture, into a piece of stone, let's say, which is amorphous, shapeless, lifeless in the beginning. The hand that mocked them. There the word mock means imitate. Mock here will be interpreted as imitation, and the heart that fed passions into a stone to make the sculpture look so lifelike. Right? The sculpture of Ozymandias is so lifelike. So mimetic is the traditional mode of looking at art as a representation of life, famously represented in Hamlet as holding a mirror up to life. Right? Holding a mirror up to life is what you generally talk about in that context. So it's representational, and generally speaking, in representational canonical plays, canonical dramatic tradition, the ideal hides behind the real. Right? And it goes back to Plato, obviously, who talked about, say, once removed from reality and twice removed from reality, that the ideal remains in the consciousness of a human being, and to explore that ideal is the purpose of drama. To explore that ideal is the purpose of theatre. And it is a apolitical, spiritual preoccupation. Right? Apolitical, spiritual preoccupation where you are supposed to evolve, where you need to transform. You need to become, say, evolve, like you see in a novel. We have a particular novel pattern called the Bildungsroman novel. In a Bildungsroman novel, a character begins prematurely and ends very maturely. Similarly, the evolution of a character, whether it is Macbeth realizing the futility of kingship, King Lear understanding that, say, human affections need to be properly understood, Othello understanding the pointlessness of jealousy, Hamlet is a problem play, you can't fix him under any category. Right? You talk about this particular thing. So mimetic is representational. Today, in post-structuralist, postmodern terms, we use the word representational with an hyphen. Representational. So an ideal world. Now, what is self-referential? Right? Self-referential takes us to a very important term today in dramatic discourse called meta-theatre. Meta-drama, meta-theatre. Now, meta-theatre, a new view of dramatic form, was a book published by Lionel Abel in 1963. Then Drama, Meta-Theatre and Perception in 1985 by Richard Hornby. And Shakespearean Metadrama by James Calderwood. These are excellent texts. So many things have happened. Today you have so many political meta-theatrical texts coming up, but these were the beginners. So any self-referential, non-representational theatre which took place, and many an avant-garde playwright took to this. By avant-garde we mean not the traditional, conservative, conventional playwrights. And it's sometimes ironical that avant-garde playwrights sometimes become canonical at a later point in time. Right? You write in a particular way. Let's say that avant-garde becomes a tradition. Right? It's like saying today's rebellion is tomorrow's conservative. So in that context, let's say you speak about that idea. It's self-conscious, constantly foregrounding the artificiality of the stage production. Right? Like we saw the prologue, as I told you in King Henry V. Later on, I'll just quickly deal with a beautiful speech by Snout in Midsummer Night's Dream. Right? The artificiality of stage production, and to break the illusion again and again and again. We see that in films today. Right? While you are watching, they tell you it's a film. Right? You see that one director was doing, say, Bhasendra Bhaskaran, for example. You have 3 films in which the previous film's character will enter into this particular film. Right? So you almost suddenly you're shocked by an actor in the previous, say, character in the previous film coming into this particular film, suggesting that what you are watching is an illusion. Now there are 2 kinds of meanings here. Now the traditional plays also said that what you are watching is an illusion, but that illusion was related to spirituality. That this world is an illusion, whereas the grander world of consciousness is real. But today, what is an illusion is the world itself is an illusion. And with post-structuralism, with critical theory coming up, everything is illusory. Media is illusory, right? Everything that presents, right? Like one of the critics brilliantly said, the only dependable news in a newspaper is the obituary column, right? The only dependable column, let's say, in a newspaper is obituary column. Because all the other things are falsified, let's say misrepresented deliberately or wrong, say unintentionally. So today we live in a time where we question. We talk about simulacra, simulation, all those big terms that we use in critical theory. So this is the basic idea, and William Eggington makes this important statement. There can be no theatre that is not already meta-theatre today. Right? That it deals with this particular thing, and in meta-theatrical discourse we say today the product is less important than the product telling you the process. A play telling you how a play is made. Right? A play telling you how a play is made, how a play is constructed. Right? How a play is constructed. So today the word construct is used for both, one, unreal things, And construct is also used for saying that this is deliberately, artificially created. What does self-referentiality do? It problematizes the place and role of literature, particularly the liberal humanist paradigm. The essence of these functions is an active, critical relationship with cultural empiricism. Right? Cultural empiricism is what's happening around you. Right? What is happening around you. And there is no essence, unfortunately or fortunately. We don't believe in essence today. Nothing essential. Everything is illusory. Everything is pre-planned. Everything is structured. Though today, very interestingly, there is a theme called post-theory, where we are going back to traditional interpretation, where the emotional quotient of literature is gaining prominence today in the context of post-theory. Anyway, when you say that the essence of these functions is an active, critical relationship. So in other words, like I told you, today theater, drama is a cultural critique. Right? It's a constant cultural critiquing. And the second one, the technique of composition whose purpose was to highlight the act of narration and thematize the process of how a story is told. The way of telling the story is more important than what is told as a story. Right? The way of telling the story. A narrator figure will come in. Right? The narrator figure will come in and tell you that what you are watching is a play. Midsummer Night's Dream is a phenomenon, let's say, in that particular context. Right? Every character comes and says, please believe what we are showing on stage is real. There is no need to tell us. There is no need to tell us that what is being shown on stage is real. Imagine you go and watch a play, let's say, in which your friend is acting. I don't think you will ever go there to watch your friend as friend while the play is on. You see that person as character. You see that person as king or queen. You know that your friend is acting. But you need to believe. Right? You need to believe that what is being shown on stage is real. Unfortunately here, let's say that unreality must be foregrounded. It's a reaction to naturalistic artistic current of the 19th century, the beginning of modern drama. Right? That famous line in, say, Yeats's poem says, Second Coming, the center cannot hold, the things are falling apart. Now, avant-garde theatres are fallen apart, happily fallen apart theatrical traditions. Right? Happily fallen apart theatrical traditions, which every theatre today has its own aesthetics. Right? Every new theatre. Earlier, it was one common aesthetics, which could, say, group in as many plays as possible. Right? One basic aesthetics which comes under, which we call a liberal humanist aesthetic, you had, say, hundreds and hundreds of plays. But today, if you are a theatre practitioner, if you have a particular concept of theatre, right, like Badar Sarkar's third theatre or Grotowski's poor theatre, you have all these labels, which means each one defines. Right? Each one defines its theatrical, say a program, as you call it. So we are experimenting with form, and we are constantly looking for newer expressions. When you look at the multivalency of theatre today, right, absolutely new modes. Right, absolutely new modes, and one of it, let's say we see it in films, we see it in stage productions, to absolutely modernize. Right, you modernize the play, it can be a historical play, but you modernize it, let's say. Romeo and Juliet, let's say became a class war. Right, in one of the productions of Romeo and Juliet, you have car chases, gun shooting, right, gun fighting and so on. Right, very surprising. How could you do that? Right, how could you do that, let's say, to a Shakespearean play? The play Coriolanus was done, let's say, by a character in, say, called a business magnate, let's say, who is in three-piece suit. Now you do all that. You experiment with form. You show things quite differently in that particular context. Then we go to a few definitions quickly. Self-referentiality. It's related to a work of literature, of art, which exhibits the author's or artist's self-conscious awareness of the creative process. Right? Today in poetry, we call it meta-poetry. In drama, we call it meta-drama. In fiction, we call it metafiction. Right? Eliot does that in a poem called East Coker. He writes about 10-15 lines and says, this is the way I put it in a periphrastic way, but not very satisfactory. Right? Before the critics could say that it is not properly written, Eliot himself says as a disclaimer, no, I don't think I have done a good job of it. Right? And then he says, my say, inspiration is Dante. I can't even hope to emulate Dante. Right? I can't even hope to emulate Dante. Now, these are games. That's not that. Is Eliot really serious? He says, in modern age, this is the kind of poetry I can write. You can't expect me to write like Dante because the time is gone. Right? The time is out of joint, to use that Shakespearean expression. So, this is the idea. Then, is literature itself self-referential? Yes, it is. Because the basic paradox of literature is, It creates an illusion of reality and breaks that illusion. Right? Today, self-referential theatre creates an illusion of reality to break that particular illusion. Then this important comment from James Calderwood, Shakespearean metadrama. Shakespeare's primary loyalties in writing a play were to the play itself. Right? Today, politically, you cannot accept that. Right? But what we are interested in, what was Shakespeare's major concern, Calderwood says, how to transform a story into a play. Right? First, a story must become a plot. You structure that particular story. Then the plot must be further divided into acts. And that those acts, let's say, will be further divided into scenes. So smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller units, let's say, and Shakespeare's primary concern or loyalties, as he calls it, is only to theatre. Right? It's only to, let's say, theatre. Whatever his attitudes may have been about politics, religion, war, love, and so on, they are not important. Today, political theatre will not agree because we have a new mode of reading called new historical reading. Right? We'll come to that when you, postgraduate students, let's say, will come to know Stephen Greenblatt coined this term new historicism, new historical reading. What is new historical reading? Read a play along with other texts that were, say, written during that particular time. And if it's a modern play, even a comic strip, a film advertisement, a billboard, everything must be read together as one single text. Right? Today's reading is like that. No play can be read in isolation. No play can be read alone. Right? It must be connected with other texts. Today, everything is a text. Right? Today, everything is a text. Now, most of us, let's say, are very familiar with memes. Now, memes today is a cultural critique. Right? It may look funny or it may look nasty. Some are too terrible. Some are okay. But memes, why memes? Let's say, but memes have come to criticize something, right, in a very funny way, in a very farcical way. So we need to take those memes alongside a theatrical performance, alongside a poem. This is how today, in the West at least, India hasn't picked up so much. In the West, the best way to read a literary text is to look for intertextual elements. That today everything is a text. Now, going back to the theatre as science system, you make strange the mechanics of dramatic plot by foregrounding, let's say as we saw in the prologue, let's return to Henry V. Right? Now, this is the passage that I mentioned about. Coleridge very famously said that willing suspension of disbelief for the moment, that is when you are in the theatre, constitutes poetic faith. It can be fiction. When you read a novel, you believe that those characters are real. Right? When you read a novel, you believe that those characters are real. Willing suspension of disbelief. Beautiful term used by Coleridge. We don't believe that. Right? Today, it should be a willing suspension of belief, not disbelief. Right? Willing suspension of belief means don't believe anything today. Right? You need not believe anything because nothing is real. Right? Nothing is real. Everything is simulated. Everything is constructed. So that willing suspension of disbelief for the moment which constitutes poetic faith, right? You suspend one's critical faculties and believe something surreal on stage. Sacrifice of realism and logic for the sake of enjoyment. That's a traditional one. Now, very interestingly, a character called Snout in Midsummer Night's Dream acts as what? He acts as a wall. Right? He acts as a wall. So he makes that statement that I, one Snout by name, present a wall. He stands like this. Right? And it is through the wall that Pyramus on one side and Thisbe, the lovers, let's say, will stand on each other. There's a small hole which he will imaginatively create, and they speak through that hole. And imagine he stands like a wall. And another fellow carries a plate in his hand and says, please believe this is a moon. Right? Another fellow wears a lion's, say, mask and says, ladies, don't get scared. I am not a lion. I'm only a human being. He takes the mask and shows. He does all that in Midsummer Night's Dream. Right? He does all that. But very interestingly, Theseus, who is the duke in that play, will mock at these kind of disclaimers. Today, that's the way it is done today. Right? Today, they are not disclaimers. These are meta-theatrical. What Snout did, let's say, in the 16th century is meta-theatrical today, but Theseus makes fun of him. Right? Theseus makes fun of him. So I am such a wall, as you would think, meaning you imagine, that through which the lovers Pyramus and Thisbe did whisper and so on. And he just says, would you desire lime and hair to speak better? Would you want your wall to be whitewashed? right? Or you want your hair to be whitewashed, let's say that, so that you can look exactly like a wall. He is actually breaking the statement that he is making. Now we go to the performer-spectator dialectics in the next slide, right? Sorry, before that we have Winter's Tale quickly. Now this is very interesting thing. Shakespeare was moving from tragedies to romances, right? He was moving from tragedies and romances. I'm not going to do the whole thing at all. In which time comes as a chorus. Time comes as a chorus. In the fourth act of the play, 15 years of action, let's say, has taken place, right? Actions belonging to 15 years have taken place. And the fourth act, this man comes and says, I am going to change the tragic into the comic. Tragedy will now become a romance, right? Tragedy will now become a romance. I'll just take the first three lines. Time says, I that please some, try all, both joy and terror, right? Because the preceding period is the tragic period. Hamlet, Macbeth, Othello, and Lear. Now this man says, I am time, meaning creative time. Shakespeare's creative potential saying, I am going to create a new form. Right? We call them the romances of Shakespeare, having a spatio-temporal sprawl, let's say having utter disregard for the unities of time, place, and action. Right? All that is happening. So this is something that you see, that makes and unfolds error. Now take upon me as time, in the name of time, to use my wings to say 15 years have passed. Right? Today we know in movies they have tried so many methods to show that time has passed. Right? Earlier, let's say, you know, that the same change of seasons will be shown in films. Right? From autumn to winter to, say, spring, let's say. Normally it was the seasons. Right? Normally the seasons. In certain films they use newspapers. Nayagan used cars to suggest a change of time. From Maruti, let's say 800 to a brand new car that the hero uses. You use so many objects to denote time. Here he just comes and says 15 years have passed. In certain films, you just, after 15 years, they just put a placard and start showing what's happening after 15 years. Now all this is extremely important. Go to the next slide. We take the last part. Right? He says, if you have ever spent time worse before now, meaning if you have seen all my tragedies and suffered with the characters, if never, yet the time himself doth say, he wishes earnestly you never may. Shakespeare telling his audience, please bear with me, I did give you terrible tragedies, terrible in the sense it made you, say, really involve yourself with that pain and anguish and so on. I am going to write comedies, romantic comedies, we call them tragicomic, say romance comedies as we call them. Tragicomic, this is the word that Johnson actually popularized later. Tragedy and comedy coming together. Shakespeare never wrote a full-length tragedy or a full-length comedy because he saw tragicomic aspects of lives. But this is a tragicomic play in which it begins as tragedy and ends as comedy. Right? It begins as tragedy, so it's an open statement made by the playwright to tell you this is what is happening. Then we say again, Kenneth Branagh, he performed Hamlet, one of the most recent, well-made, say, productions of Hamlet. You know that famous to be or not to be soliloquy. He made that fellow stand before a mirror. He stands quite away from the mirror and slowly goes to the mirror and knocks it. Right? He bangs on the mirror. One of the central images I would want to put on film was Hamlet doing to be or not to be into a mirror, literally talking to himself, but also seeing reflections of himself all over the place. It's a mirror that can show you multiple reflections of Hamlet, right? The result of a court where their vanity is reflected. So Hamlet reflects on court, Hamlet reflects on the terrible Denmark, Hamlet reflects on himself, Hamlet reflects on the audience, Hamlet reflects on everything suggested through the image of the, say, mirror. Then we speak about, the next slide please. So this is something that we talk about. Say a performer is a complex of messages, speeches, gestures, scenic continuum as we call it. It's a continuous kind of process. It's an integrated text. So set, properties, dialogues, actor, language of gestures, everything together will be called an integrated text. And then with regard to the, say, the performer-spectator dialectics, the actor is central. Right? The actor is central. He is or she is the dynamic unity of the entire set of signs. Because it is in him or her, you see the whole play. Because he touches a property or she touches a property, it becomes so significant. Right? It becomes so significant. Right? Great actors, let's say like John Gielgud, right? Like John Gielgud, Laurence Olivier, Shivaji Ganesan of our own, say, place and time, let's say all these people have used stage properties to greatest effect. Right? If he uses a walking stick, if he uses a cigarette, uses anything that comes in his hand, and he would completely multiply the meaning of that particular scene. So this is exactly what the dialectics is all about. The spectator should constantly watch the performer as a dynamic unity of the entire set of signs, right? Which we have already seen as say, the fourfold abhinaya. So he is the link between the dramatic and the theatrical. The play text to performance text, it becomes performance only through the vehicle of what you call action. And then theatre should be a collective exercise to awaken and enhance social consciousness. Now, this is the present trend. From spiritual consciousness, Bildungsroman model, to social consciousness. Socio-political, cultural consciousness raising is the current trend, the third theatre of Badal Sarkar. And the audience are seated so close to the actor. You know, theatre space, I'll quickly talk about Sarkar. 3 spaces he created. Third theatre often offers, let's say, an openness that you talk about. Now, the last point before I go to Sarkar is this cultural appropriations, right? Not only Shakespeare, I'm just taking Shakespeare as an example. Sophocles has been taken, right? Great, say, plays of the past. Aristophanes has been taken for modern farcical comedies. Why do you appropriate? Why does culture appropriate, one culture appropriate another culture's play? Right? An Elizabethan play written in the 16th century, right? Written in the 16th century, some in the beginning of the 17th century, right? 1610, 1611, 1612, Shakespeare was still writing, right? So it is very interesting that when you appropriate, right, it was appropriation with cultural intent. Now earlier, right, when English syllabus was introduced, English studies as we call it, Shakespeare was introduced in order to demean our own cultural traditions. Right? Shakespeare is the greatest dramatist, all the others in the world are useless. You understand? That was a premise by which English studies was introduced. Harish Trivedi makes a statement, Shakespeare is a political site, S-I-T-E. Right? He is the role model. He is the standard. It is Harold Bloom who makes a statement, Shakespeare sets the limits and standard of literature. I mean, nothing wrong in saying about Shakespeare, but to rubbish other traditions, I think it's a serious problem. Right? It's a serious problem. And now, like in India, we don't, say, privilege a canonical, say, tradition and completely rubbish other traditions. Right? All the other native traditions you don't rubbish. Post-colonial attitude is to give sanction, give visibility, give identity to all theatrical forms. Right? To all theatrical forms. So, cultural appropriations happen that Shakespeare's text is seen as the starting point of a sustained, open-ended, intertextual discourse. Right? Intertextual discourse. Sir himself, Chandradasan sir, told me this morning that he has done Macbeth and Tempest. Right? Now, that is an interesting phenomenon. Right? Jayaraj did Kaliyatram. People would have seen Othello becoming Kaliyatram. Vishal Bharadwaj has done 3 movies, let's say. Many people have done that. Why do you go back to this man or any person, any playwright? Right? Why do Basa? Why do Kalidasa? Right? Can you do a feminist reading of Kalidasa? Yes, you can. Right? Can you again go against that essentialist spiritual preoccupation in Kalidasa's place and look at him as a very interesting say playwright dealing with the problem of memory? There is a brilliant short story in which a husband meets with an accident and he becomes amnesiac. He forgets everything. Right? He forgets everything, and the wife struggles to bring that memory back to him. And the paradigm that he uses was Kalidasa's Abhignana Shakuntalam. Abhignana means a token of remembrance. Right? She tries her level best to bring this man back to life, bring that man back to, say, normal life, and finally she achieves bringing that man back to the memory so that he remembers that he is the husband of that woman and he remembers everything about him, which is exactly the Kalidasa story pattern. So, but see the idea, this is a middle class story in which a wife struggles and is only earning member in the family. All the social issues are brought into this Kalidasa story pattern of husband forgetting something, right? Losing memory for that matter. So all these are appropriating experiences. And the original text of Shakespeare, right? We don't believe in anything original today, another important idea. We don't use the word ur anymore. Ur means original. But anyway, it's a point of departure for a highly selective reworking, which becomes interventionist, radical, and it indigenizes Shakespeare. Right? There is a theatre group called Amara Shakespeare. Right? Theatre group called Amara Shakespeare, which toys with Shakespeare, who has fun with Shakespeare. No disregard, no disregard. They like him, so they play with him, right? So this is the kind of thing. It's like a grandchild playing with a granddad or grandmother. You understand? That kind of thing, right? Lot of respect, lot of admiration, but they just toy with that man. Let's say they do things that say English audiences would not have tolerated at all. But today, very interestingly, in Globe Theatre festivals, Amara Shakespeare performs. Every year, Globe Theatre, Amara Shakespeare is definitely performing one play or the other. Right? They play with so many things, and I'll just give you one single instance. 12th night, let's say most of you remember, there is a character, the twins, let's say Viola and Sebastian. Sebastian, very interestingly, suddenly tells the audience, says, I am the fellow who changes the story. Right? Without my presence in the play, 12th night will never come to an end. But he turns, there is an image of Shakespeare at the back. He looks at Shakespeare and says, you useless fellow, you have not even given me 8 lines in the play. Right? You have not even given me 8 lines in the play, but I changed the course of the story. And my sister is speaking a lot in the play. You understand? Now, these are plays that you toy with the notion of this particular man, you indigenize it. Right? Again, in 12th night, an actor comes and asks, let's say the person who plays, let's say Duke Orsino comes and asks the audience, what color shirt should I wear? Right? All of us shouted green. He deliberately wore blue. You understand? These are interventionists, absolutely changing kind of patterns of Shakespearean productions. Then we speak about stage spaces. I told you 3 stage spaces that we speak about in the context. One was the fourth wall, typical fourth wall theatre, which he abandoned when he wrote a play called Evam Indrajit. Then he had a stage space called Angan Manch, right? Very close theatre, right? Small, very, very small space. Acting happened here, the audience were here. Then he went to a place called Mukt Manch, which could be any open space, right? Any open space. And you see the picture, it's performed on street corners, public places, mainly in Curzon Park, let's say in Kolkata. It is a collective experience, which I already told you. It is anti-proscenium, because it's a poor theatre. You see the last point, portability, flexibility, inexpensive theatre, because instead of making people come to theatre, theatre is taken to the people. Now the last part, which I will deal with, is actor as sign. Let's say actor as sign. We have already used this expression, Weltruisky, dynamic unity, right? He centers upon herself or himself, and he may even replace, as I told you, if you take a walking stick, if Richard II holds a mirror in his mirror in his hand, if Hamlet holds a skull in his hand, it becomes part of Hamlet. The sign carriers lose their signification, they become his preoccupation, skull representing something. So actor becomes the conveyor of the text and the site of interconnecting systems, theatrical and dramatic we have seen. So this is the basic point, that the writer's scripting of the text and director's scripting, let's say, happens. Then we talk about signs and codes. Theatre is a codified sign systems, only 2 codes generally. One is space, right? The other is movement, right? Other is movement. Now, this is very interesting. All that one has to do is to have an empty stage, make a man go across 2 times, theatre has begun. A stage space with some movement is the beginning of theatre. Street theatre normally, let's say, begins like that. All street theatre experiences begin like that. So from stasis to movement, from emptiness to everythingness, from lack of movement to movement, right, in which, let's say, all these cultural codes are happening. Then we talk about conventional theatre, and say, I use these terms if you remember. Conventional theatrical text is called the bourgeois text. Right? A character is constructed wholly. An actor who becomes a character, it's like the page to the stage, back to the page again. Right? From the page of the text to the stage of the text, let's say back to the page of the text again. Right? A character is constructed wholly within and by means of language and has no currency beyond the fictional world of the text. Roland Barthes used a beautiful term. Characters in a play, characters in literature generally have a papery existence. Right? They have a papery existence. So in that context, let's say the second one, which breaks the fourth wall, is called the radical text. Right? Radical plays, all avant-garde traditions. Right? All experimental theatres will belong to the second category. That's why I told you a character is represented as a construct. They represent something, and like in Shaw's plays, for example. Shaw's plays are called the plays of ideas. Characters represent. Right? They stand for something. Bluntschli stands for something. right? He stands for something in the play. Any character for that matter stands for something. But what is most important is the language of theatre must be understood, because theatre speaks only in metaphors. Then I'll take the last part. This is Derek Jacobi doing Hamlet in a play production. Right? In a play production, it is an existential problem. You know, Hamlet deals with to be or not to be phenomenon, the constant suicidal instinct. What is life? What a piece of work is man? All those serious questions. Right? All those serious questions. So when he holds a globe, when he holds the skull, a human skull, in that famous scene in which he also sees the dead body of Ophelia, right? The concept is completely existential. Now, in the film Either, right, which deals with the Kashmiri issue, the human skull is hugely political, right? The disappearing Kashmiris, right? The police, military atrocities, all that which you call political, when he makes this particular statement, right, in that particular statement. And very, very significant transformation, though it's a movie, it's not theatre, it's still a movie. In Hamlet, you know, Hamlet dies with the words telling Horatio, right, please tell my story. I'm going to die. Please keep telling my story, right? Absent thee from felicity a while, and in this harsh world, draw thy breath in pain to tell my story. That's what Hamlet tells Horatio, his friend. Whereas in Either, who is Hamlet in the play, Hamlet never dies. Hamlet never dies. There is binaries there. Fire on ice, right? Lot of destruction, lot of burning. There is fire on ice, and through the fire, Either walks out, right? Through the fire, Either walks out in order to keep narrating the story. I told you it's a multimedial narrative. He keeps narrating the story of Kashmir, right? It will obviously it will be narrated because of the political dimension, social dimensions, and so on. Now see a complete shift. How could Hamlet deal with Kashmir? Right? An existential play has become political. Now, though it is film, today many of the theatrical productions of Hamlet have become hugely political. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Your speech offered us an insight into the various elements of a drama: plot, theatre as a sign system, performer-audience transaction, peritextual elements, stage phases, and actor as a sign. Thank you, sir. Now I call upon Dr. Yunus Ahmed Mohammed Sharif, Assistant Professor, Department of English, to introduce Professor Chandra Dasan, Artistic Director, Logadharmi Theatre, Writer and Actor, Kochi, Kerala, to the audience. Please, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to present, to say a few words as an introductory remark about Chandra Dasan, sir. He is the founder and artistic director of Logadharmi Center for Theatre, Kochi, Kerala. He is a designer, director, dramatist, actor, writer, and translator. Drama is his passion, and his profession is chemistry. He was an associate professor of chemistry at St. Albert's College, Ernakulam. He has designed and directed about 50 plays in various languages like Malayalam, Kannada, Finnish, Hindi, Lithuania, Tamil, Sanskrit, and English, which includes 10 plays for children. He has traveled widely throughout the world to countries like USA, Finland, Lithuania, Bangladesh, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and Greece to direct plays, conduct workshops, participate in seminars, conduct research, and perform in festivals. He has received many awards, including Mahindra Excellence in Theatre Award, the Kerala State Sangeet and Art Academy Award, recipient of the Fulbright Fellowship, and many more such awards. He is a well-acclaimed resource person, theatre academic, and expert sought after by various universities, academic institutions, including National School of Drama, New Delhi, and theatre centers across India. Some of his major productions are Karnabharam, Draupadi, Chatankattu, the adaptation of the Tempest by William Shakespeare, and many other such productions are under his name. It's an honor, sir, to have you here. Welcome, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? That line, can you hear me, is a very important dialogue which Charlie Chaplin spoke in his film, The Great Dictator. He was just making a speech through a radio, and he asked, "Can you hear me?" That question was to the whole world. Can you hear me and understand the futility of war? So I just wanted to check whether you can hear me physically, that's all. Friends, after the very learned lecture by Dr. Ganesh, which covered almost every aspect of theatre, from the text to performance, I am to talk to you about postmodern theatre. I don't know how long I could keep you here inside. When should I stop? Good that there's a watch there. So when should we split for lunch? How much time? 1:15 means 45 minutes. I don't know how much I can talk to you. Let us see. Yeah. No, I need not tell you everything I have brought in the slide. I can just give you a glimpse of what I could in this limited time. I'm to speak about postmodern theatre. And your professor suggested me to talk about postmodern drama. I said make it postmodern theatre, because drama and theatre are not the same thing. Maybe when I talk, it will be different from your teachers teaching you in the classroom. I am talking as a performance artist who is translating the text, the written text, the written word to the performance word. It's highly different. There are three terms which we usually use: the text or the script, the performance, and theatre. So the three are not the same. And one thing which we understood from Ganesh's lecture is that all great plays were written to perform. Shakespeare wrote to perform. All the Greek plays, all the classics was written to perform. Bhasa wrote to perform. Kalidasa wrote to perform. So almost all the major work by playwrights were written to be performed on stage. Leave the concept of stage, which you already know, to perform in a space, to be seen by a group of people. So it's basically for performance. And the performance or writing, whatever is, it's a matter of debate. Where did it start? The Indians can say that we have our productions, our writings and performances more than 2,500 or maybe 3,000 years old. We have Bhasa, the first known playwright, maybe others will be there. But the world believes that Greece is the first abode of theatre, and we have certain texts available and details of performance available. I have been in Greece seeing places where the performance actually took place, like the great space Epidaurus, and was lucky to perform in one of the spaces, traditional spaces. And what makes a good play is the question which aesthetics ask for. We have our Natya Shastra, Rasa theory, Abhinav Gupta, all those things which he mentioned. And in the Western counterpart, we have Aristotle giving his idea about theatre in the famous book Poetics. And in the Poetics, the most important elements of a tragedy, which is the best literature around, has been listed. I just show this slide to tell you that out of the 6, 4.5 belongs to the author. Plot, character, thought, diction is completely written by the playwright, the author. Only the spectacle is the performance aspect. The song is partly written by the playwright, sung by the chorus. So half can go to the performance aspect. So out of the 6, 4.5 is about the written text. It's the author who is important. That's why Sophocles becomes the most important person of theater, performance, literature, aesthetics, etc. So that was the concept which ruled the whole world, even still ruling now, including Shakespeare, including the modern playwrights. But there is a focus shift, a paradigm shift that happened with modernism. The importance of the text is shifted to the importance of performance. There are many names. I'm not going to details. Just the 3 names are just 3. There are many, many, many. Antonin Artaud, who's mentioned here, Bertolt Brecht, maybe you'll be studying his plays, and Jerzy Grotowski from Poland, who just died some 10 years before, the man who came with the poor theater. So these people gave their focus not on the text, but the way the text is being performed. So the shift happens to the performance. So the author becomes secondary. The performer becomes primary. Till then, the author was the ruling person, but now it's the performer. Yeah, I can. It's fine. It's fine. You can hear and see me. That's fine. I can stay here, and just these people and their coats, leave it, and then comes and the very important person, who is known as Richard Schechner, who is still alive. He's teaching in the New York University. He has traveled all over the world, written immensely on performance, and generated a theory known as the performance theory, which is a ruling theory about performance. And he is the one who classifies these terms. The drama, he uses the word drama for the written text. The drama is the domain of the author, the one who wrote it, Shakespeare, the composer and the scenarist. The theater is the domain of the performer, the actors. In the theater, it's the actors who matters. And the performance is the domain of the audience. The audience understand. And he says the performance starts when the first audience come into the auditorium. And it ends when the last audience go out. It's not on the first bell, second bell, nothing like that. Because when the performance takes place, you are watching so many things. See, when you are hearing me, you are seeing me, you are watching the slide, maybe you'll be looking at the Schechner, you'll be talking to each other. Somebody is very busy talking to each other and transcend some secret, partly hearing me. You'll be thinking about yourself. And so many interactions happens in the theater. And the audience come into the theater not just to watch the play. It is to watch others also. It is to meet others also. And say, how are you? Last time when I met, you were bolder. Now what happened to you? Have you got a sugar, diabetics? So these kind of exchanges. So next month, my daughter is going to be married. Will you come? So this kind of socialization, interactions, that also part of theater. And suppose the performance is taking place and the man in the front row is sleeping. You'll be watching him sleeping. So it's another performance. You're seeing him sleeping and the performance, and your negotiation with the performance will be decided by the sleep also. Oh, this fellow is sleeping. Either the play is boring and say, I can also sleep, but sleep is not coming to me. Or, such a wonderful play happening. Why this man come here and he is sleeping? That can be your negotiation. So the communication that happens, the exchanges that happens is a total thing, which is included by even the wind. If it's air conditioned, it's better. If it's hot, it will be different. So Richard Schechner made a very extensive, so many things. This is just the gist of what he said. So he gives the performance theory. And then I am to speak about postmodern drama. And as students of literature, you may be knowing about modernism and postmodernism. So where does modernism start? And where does modernism goes to shift to postmodernism. It may be a question of literary theories, literary understanding, etc. The drama is what the writer writes. The theater is the specific set of gestures performed by the performers in a given circumstance, performance. The performance is the whole event, etc., which we have. And about postmodernism, it's a 20th century happening. It started somewhere in the mid of 20th century, basically ruled by the events happening, the two wars, the concept of literature, the narrativity, etc., and the ideologies. And before the postmodernism starts, there are a lot of isms, religions, all those beliefs where we have a positive thought. We thought that everything is going to be better. And we thought that there is an answer to every question. There's an answer to everything. But that thought was disrupted by the happening of the Second World War and all those things. And then came modernism. It gave the text like Waiting for Godot, which said that life is meaningless and the place has no hope, etc. But postmodernism after that said that, okay, that's fine, but there can be an answer, but not one answer. So the answer to a problem is not one. When I ask you one question, you'll be saying one answer, he'll be having another answer, and the third person will be having another answer. So I'm asking how to resolve the Kashmiri issue. It's a major issue. So how many possible answers are there? Even two Kashmiris will give two different answers. So the answers has been multiple. So there is no one answer. So postmodernism deconstructs. You might have heard deconstruction, etc. Deconstruction and reconstruction. So postmodernism deconstructs the truth. There is no one truth. There are many truths. There's not one truth. There are many truths. And the truths, and he is trying to, the postmodernist writer is trying to make sense of many uncertainties. It's not very certain. I cannot just give you, I think so, it may be, kind of answer will be coming out. So it's uncertainty. And there will be ironies. Just like you have seen the Haider holding that mask, that skull. It's an irony. The ironies, the contradictions, and the multiple points of view. You can see the same thing from different angles, from different perceptions. So all these things is trying to deconstruct the so-called one truth into different levels. And there is no absolute truth. There is no absolute God. There is nothing absolute. There is no absolute moral. There is no absolute world. So, how should we behave? How should we live? How should we create that reality in performance? Even if you are performing Shakespeare, a canonical text, how can it become so? That becomes, I'll be asking you to keenly watch 2-3 paintings. Just see these paintings. Can you switch off the light so that it's more clearer? The images are more clearer. This one. This is a very famous painting by Peter Rubens. I think it's from 1800s. And this is titled The Consequences of War. And it's a war painting. Just see what can you understand from the painting and what all things are there. The Revolt of Cairo, Girodith, another war painting. See the images. Can you tell me the story of this painting? It's a question. Can you understand what is being painted? Can you narrate the story? Is it possible? Can you give one narrative? It's possible. there are dead bodies, blood, human, jammed into one thing, somebody with a raised sword, and the war. It's a war narrative. Goya, the wonderful artist. I just want to see this painting a little more closer. And Goya is said to be the first modernist or the last of the conventional painter. He is the shifting point from traditional paintings to modernism. He is the first modern painter. See this man here, yes, just a sword, and this man fighting, another fellow with a turban reacting back, and there's a horse. So this scenario, and Goya is a Spanish person. He did his painting in 1814 to represent the attack of the French on Spain. He's a Spanish painter. So he was depicting the war the French people did on Spain. 100 years later, there's another great war painting. Could you recognize this? Have you seen this painting? Who did this? He is Pablo Picasso. He did it in 1937. The other was 1814. Around 100 years passed. And he's again another Spanish painter. That's why I wanted to tell you these two painters. Both are Spanish. In the first person, it was the French attack. For him, it was a Spanish civil war. The name of the painting is Guernica. And I tell you that Guernica is a city, a small town. It's the name of the town where the Spanish war took place and a lot of things happened. So what is in this painting? I told you it's an anti-war painting. So can you make a narrative just like you made from this painting? Both are anti-war paintings. What's happening? One lady crying. Is a bull. Very weird. Somebody is crying down here. There's a lamp. There's a horse in agony. In the former painting also there was a horse. The horse repeating. The image of the horse repeating. See, and the lady, maybe a window where light is outside. Somebody's, and there's a skull somewhere in the painting. This lady is holding a lamp. So can you make out a story is the question. Just like you made a narrative, can you make a narrative of this painting, Pablo Picasso's painting? What do you think? Here, there's no one story. There are many stories. There are many stories put together into one frame. So here, the narrative is not a mono-narrative. In the former paintings, there is a mono-narrative. We can just say, this is it, this is it, this is it, this is it. Here, you make stories, your own stories. And each thing, each idea is created by you. You understand and you respond. I don't know which part of the painting you are going to associate more with you. Somebody will be seeing the women crying. Somebody will be looking for the horse. Somebody will be going for the bull. Somebody will be for the dying man down. And all those things are there. So here, I can very simply say that this is a multiple narrative. Formerly, it was a mono-narrative. So the mono-narrative shifting to multiple narratives. But this multiple narrative is needed because there is no one truth. The incident that happens in Guernica, that village, after the Civil War, has made Picasso to do this multiple narrative painting. It's a big painting, it's not very small. See the size of the painting and people watching it. It's a big thing. So each portion is very important. It's not a small thing as we see in the screen. So every segment, so if you are watching it from this side, somebody is standing here. So it's just like us talking in between also. So somebody who is standing here and watching the painting from here will be different from seeing it this side. And somebody will be sitting in Western museums, somebody will be sitting there for hours just watching this painting. For him or her, he starts seeing different stories out of it. So, the mono narrative is fragmented into multiple narratives, and to make a collage of different things into one meta-narrative or mega-narrative, whatever you call it. So, and there postmodernism starts. The former painting, Goya, he was a modernist. The modernism starts. I just took these two painters to watch closely because both are Spanish. Both have their anti-war paintings, just 100 years difference, and both have certain images repeating, like the horse or whatever it is. It's very important in their culture. Literature students know this person, Roland Barthes, 1967. He wrote the book, The Death of the Author. Means, what does it mean for the students? The author is no more important. It's the reader who is important. I understand one thing from one. When I read Tempest as an Indian, I understand something. For the British, it is something else. For the American, it is a third thing. So it is the culture, the history, the tradition, the memory, the experience of the reader who creates the meaning. So the text becomes a very flimsy thing. It starts communicating something different. For example, he was saying, you can make a feminist reading out of Shakuntala. Was it possible when Kalidasa was living? The concept of the word feminism was not there. So it is because feminism and the female experience and the sharing of this female experience, the theorizing of it becomes very important right now. In this period, we start seeing this angle. When I was to do Shakuntalam in National School of Drama for the first time, with the students there, the students were not interested. It was mostly girls. Then they said, no, sir. Then I asked, why? It's about the exploitation of women by men. I said, fine. Then let us try to say that through our production. So this play is just that. It's depicting the exploitation of a woman or an innocent girl by a man. Then she said, okay, but still, sir, you forget Dushyanta. Dushyanta does it, fine, we can do it. What about Kalidasa? And she said, whenever he gets time, he does verbal raping on women. When Shakuntala is being described, it's all physical explanations. So she used the word verbal raping. So could you imagine somebody saying about a great playwright that he is verbally raping women? So these questions put another problems when you're going to create the play there, the performance, the play there. So just, and we theatre people, we are little proud that we started doing this deconstruction or decanonification of the author much before. He's another great man, Konstantin Stanislavski, a Russian, was born in 1863 and dead in 1938. He said, he's the first modern theatre person. He's not a playwright. It's an agony that only playwrights are being hailed, not the directors or actors in the history classes or in the history of theatre. And this man, he's a wonderful actor, he's a great actor trainer, and he's a great director. And he said so many things. What you have to do when you're going to do a play. And he said, you take the text, you break it into small units. Break it into small units. And then you can rearrange the units. You can take unit number 5 to maybe to the middle or the last scene to the front, rearrange it, remove something, add something, edit, add, delete, so that you reconstruct a performance text. So the written text is not the same thing as the performance text. You're recreating the performance text by working on this thing. So he said, performance is deconstruction of the written text and reconstructing a new text. So deconstruction and reconstruction is the essence of performance, said Stanislavski somewhere in the late 1890 somewhere. I don't know the exact date, but when this, it is there in his very famous book, My Life in Art. It is written there, and this is published around 1910 or 1915. So in that period itself, theatre the practitioner theatre this is the work we are going to do, a very canonical text, and he has done great plays like Hamlet, Othello, etc. I'm not going to spend much time. And as I said, postmodern theatre discards many ideas of modernism. And it's a recent phenomena, etc. It is a non-representational theatre that emerged in the mid-20th century. The plot, the conflict, the characters, the mimesis, the imaginary imitation, the verbal text, the separation between performer and audience is no longer valid. Even the great characterization do not hold. You'll be asked to write a character sketch of Macbeth or Othello, you'll be writing a typical ready-made answer. I'm very sure that the answers written in this college is exactly the same answer written by the student from Kerala. But if you're watching a performance of the same play by two different groups, it's not the same character. In my production of Shakuntala, Dushyanta is an womanizer. He thinks he is an embodiment of Kamadev. And he comes with an arrow of flower and a bow of sugarcane, just like Kamadeva. He's hunting with this thing. So it's Kamadeva along with 4 other 8, so 5 men, and one emerges. So there can be other Dushyantas. So there is no one character sketch for a performance, it differs. The characteristics of the postmodern play will just fastly read through. We may not have much time. The accepted norms of seeing and representing the world are challenged or disregarded. There is no accepted format now. All the traditions are being gone. And experimental theatrical perceptions and representations are newly created. A collage of different textualities. Or the same thing, just like you have seen Gornica. It's a collage of different textualities and different forms. In my production of Shakuntala, the text was there, the spoken word was there, songs were there, paintings were there. Paintings were there, music was there, dance was there. So all these things were there. In many productions, multimedia productions, you have projections. You have sound installations. All these things have been used. So it's a collage of different forms of expression also. It's not just the actors, the role, the costume, and the lines. There's so many other things happening. In certain productions I've seen the 2 actors speaking, at the same time, a video shot of a close-up is being projected of the scene because you'll be seeing it more clearly. In one production I've seen from Maharashtra, Ratramatra, something like that, so only night only, 2 couples are on bed. So we see them from this angle. There's a camera pointing down from the roof. So it's another perspective. You just see them as daft persons and the image is projected live on the stage. So whatever movements they make, whatever things they do, it's being seen from a different perspective. And we see both the things. We see this side plus the side given by the camera, that becomes the background. So, new representations, a collage of textualities. Virtual art is being interwoven. The narrative need not be complete. Just like this talk, it may not be complete. We can stop it anywhere because it's a postmodern lecture. So we can stop it anywhere. It need not be a complete answer. There is no complete answer for anything. So it need not be complete. It can be broken. There can be paradoxes and imagistic. A lot of things are being represented as images. visual images and audio images. In one production, I have seen from Kerala, even the taste was important. Because in one marriage scene, biryani is being served to the audience. The only lucky ones in the front row got biryani so that they can eat. So the taste, the cooking of biryani, the smell, the visuals, all these things happen together. So it's again multi-narrative. You are addressing the different senses of the audience at the same time. So it happens. So the linearity of the text is gone. It is a multiplicity of narratives to create an interrelated web of stories. They should be interrelated, otherwise people will be in an utter chaos. There should be some relationship happening together. And the characters are fragmented characters. They're forming a collection of contrasting parallel fragments originating from a central idea. The central idea is there, and the central theme is there, and the characters there. And the audience is very important. The audience is very important in creating the meaning. And the audience can expect cross-association. Sometimes, in many of the productions, in one production of Shekner, the audience is acting. Means they'll be dancing, they'll be shouting, they'll be doing all those things. You can interact, you can stop. I don't want to see this production going ahead. Stop it. In one production of Danish 69, by Shekner, he writes that at one point in one particular show, some audience said, no, we don't want to see this actor. We are not going to allow this actor to perform. Stop him. So he is physically, literally taken out of the theater. And what happens? The play stops. Then Shekner came to stage, but the play has to go ahead. One actor has been taken off. So what can we do? Is there anybody in the audience who can come forward and do the play? Take the play ahead. Then one audience who has seen the play many times said, I will do the remaining thing. And he comes and joins and completes the performance. So such instances are there. So, and there is no high art or low art. It's good theater, no bad theater. It's just theater. It's the experience you get. We are not going to say this is good, this is bad, this is it, this is not it, etc. It's just art. And it happens in the mind of the viewer, the spectator, and it's nothing more what you understand and nothing less than what you understand. And even the rehearsal process, we have the text with us. The process is a kind of devising meaning by the interaction between actor, director, music director, or the other artists, creating something new. It's not the director who is going to say, this is it, this is it, this is it, this is it. Not the author who is saying, this is the line, this is the line, this is the line, this is the line. So it's a collective, creative thing that happens in the rehearsal hall. And the techniques are often found in post-productions. They are never part of centralized movement or style. Different styles can come in. They are questioning the representation of human experience. The narrative may include direct address to the audience. Soliloquies, as he said in explaining meta theater. Soliloquies, asides, all those things. And personal talk in between. The play is going on here. I have no other thing to do. So how you like the play? It's an interesting, okay, kind of act. I've seen it. I've seen actors asking to clap. I've seen somebody saying, you can see, you have seen in modern music. The singer sings and say, clap. And all of you join it. I've seen Pankaj Udas making people clapping and then stopping it when he wants. With just one gesture. This can happen in postmodern performances. So these things can happen. And expression of an awareness of the presence of the audience. The actors know there is an audience. Even in Stanislavski said, you are in darkness, we are isolated existences. We are the characters, we have the story. No, I am an actor, you know me, or you may not know me. I am representing the character, or representing character, what way you want to call it. So the audience is there, I acknowledge you, I salute you. I want you to create with me. I give you a position, I give you a role, and you are part of it. So it's under time and space. It's not a fictional space. It's right now, I'm here right now in this college, in this day. So all these things matters. And there will be plays within plays, all the meta theater things that happens. The postmodern disconnect between actor and character is very important. The actor is disconnected from the character. And it is helpful in creating an openness. So the performance of the story is not a closed one. It's an open thing. As playwrights or directors seek to create roles more than characters. So both of them, playwrights and directors also would like to. As a director, at present, I don't know who am I. See, one of the major questions that comes back to me when I'm going to write the brochure, what should be my title? In 80s, I just directed by Chandradasan. But now I'm confused. When I wrote, the brochure of Shakuntalam is being printed, I wrote a lot of things. Text by me, songs by me, design by me, and I'm the dramaturg also, who read Kalidasa's thing, understood what he means and how it is relevant today. And I'm the director also. So these confusions, there's also a kind of multi-dimensional thing. The designer is different from the director is different from the dramaturg is different from the author, and I do write all these things. I cannot just say directed by in this postmodern period. So these things are there. So inviting the audience to see an actor not as a character, but rather as an actor playing a character. Shakespeare has done it very brilliantly there. I've seen these productions, and they said, this is a wall, this is the imagined wall, and you look through this. This is a hall. I've seen it being performed in America. And in short, a postmodern drama is the reader is the creator of the meaning, or the viewer is the creator of the meaning. You shift to the viewer. That may be the better word. The author does not hold any ultimate truth on the product created. The scripts are just the starting point. It's where it begins. The performance itself is layered with images. There'll be soundscapes, just like landscapes. The soundscapes and multimedia experiences. You'll be seeing digitalized projections. I've seen computer graphics going on to the narrative. I've seen multiple projections happening. One image there, one image there, one image there. Sometimes projections on the thing. Very interestingly, one media which I saw from Finland is a very interesting story. It's a media by Euripides. If you know the story, you can understand. See, they have recreated media, the Greek play, in the conventional Greek costume and shot it. And then the whole play happens in a bar, where there's a girl who is a bar girl. Her name is also Media. And Yason, the hero, he's coming from the next city. He's saying that I will take you to the city and I will give you a role in an advertising film, etc. So he loves to act. So she's about to go with him. So that's a parallel story of media happening in the real time. And in between, we can see the serial in the TV in the bar. So the same actors performing as the traditional characters projected in a big screen, these people watching it, and finally, when Media in the TV serial kills her children, the Media, the barmaid, who understood that I am going to be cheated by this man, took the revolver and shoots at him. So how the traditional media is performed now? What does it teach us? So this kind of things are there. And Hamlet Machine is a very important play of this thing, Popcorn. This is a scene from Hamlet Machine. See, just see the photograph. Can you imagine this is a scene from a play? See the graphics behind, where she is sitting, how she is sitting, and what all things are there on the space, etc. So it's like that. It's Hiner Muller wrote this play in 1977, just 12 pages, created worldwide productions in different styles. It's one of the first postmodernist play as such, one of the first. I don't believe in these dates because I think that much before Living Theatre has done it in America and many others has done it. There is not a conventional plot in this play. It connects somehow, flimsily, here, there. It's more like a music. This another thing from the same play, photographs. Top Girls by Carol Churchill, another postmodern production. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. Tom Stoppard's, it's another very important modern play where the two minor characters of Hamlet becomes the major characters. The friends of Hamlet, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, they get the upper center stage, not Hamlet, in this play. So it's a postmodern in its writing as well. That's why this play is important. Buried Child, Sam Shepard, another new American playwright. And he's somebody very important, Robert Wilson. If I could show you something. And this man is Peter Truman. He's a living legend of world theatre. And this theatre space, he is in America, the land of all technology and culture, but he uses very primitive things. He uses handmade puppets, and his company is known as Bread and Puppet Theatre. Bread and Puppet Theatre. He makes bread with his own hand, very traditionally, using the revolver, something like that, and he cooks it, he bakes it in his own clay, and he distributes a piece to everyone who comes to watch the play. And that taste, you won't feel it very tasty then. But after seeing, after say 6 months, that taste will be hanging in your senses. Sometimes only this taste lasts, not the play, or both are associated. Bread and Puppet Theatre is a great, great person, and these are stills from his productions. I think if the video can work, I can show you a little of his work. Can we play this? Who is here? Say it. See, these are the audience. The theatre building has vanished. He does these productions in two spaces. One is the space which I showed you early, and the other is an open ground. And even you can see the cars being parked. It's there. So, and these are puppets. Huge puppets and thing. Bread and Puppet Theatre. So many things happening. Can you play it? No, you have to go and make it smaller. And then
we're celebrating their 50-year anniversary this summer.
So we can see that clip. I'll just brief you about this person, Peter Truman. He's basically an artist, a painter, and he makes big puppets. Big means very big puppets where 5, 6, 7 people hold one puppet and make it move, animate it. And he started his theater in New York. And when the American bombing happened in Vietnam, one of his first productions was a protest play against the American bombing in Vietnam that happened in the city of New York. He performed in the city of New York, in the streets of New York, and the play culminated inside a park. So he's a very revolutionary playwright. He writes his play, he composes the music, he makes the puppets, he makes the bread, and he distributes the bread. He's a terrific person. The first lines when I met him, I said, what is your new production? Then he said, on American stupidity. It's a kind of very, very dangerous, very laughing theatre person. And after becoming a cult figure in world theatre, he moved to a small place known as Vermont. Vermont is a very small place. You have to drive some 5 hours from Boston to reach this land. Believe me, there is no mobile phone working. You can't get the range. It's in America. So there is no tea shop in 3 kilometers vicinity from his theater. And he lives there. He does his farming with the villagers. And they collectively produce theater. And people from all over the world travel to this tiny village to see his productions and meet him. And there is, in August, on all Sundays of August, his bigger performances are there. And you can see this is one of the bigger performances which he calls circus. And see how different a theater it is. He has completed 50 years of theater. And this video has been produced on his 50th year. And he is a very, very rustic theater person. He don't sell tickets in America. He takes a collection on his hat after that, and he gives free bread. And the first thing he'll tell you, you won't get food in this village, so after the play you have to eat from us, with us, and then go to these people. And whatever money you give is a donation. He's performing on different political issues. When I was there in 2015, he said he's preparing a play for the American election to happen. And that's what he said on the stupidity of American democracy. That's what he said. I'm going to have my next play on the stupidity of American democracy. And just see the clip. And just try to connect what about.
Welcome to Stuck in Vermont, brought to you by 7 Days. My name is Ava Soldberger. We are here in Glover, Vermont for Bread and Puppet, who are celebrating their 50-year anniversary this summer.
Puppet show right this way!
Bread and Puppet
That's the bread.
was started by Peter Schumann in New York City in the 60s, and in the 70s they moved to Vermont.
We live here already for how long now? What is now?
the
13?
70s.
Since the year 70. That makes it 43 years.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah, 43 years. My God, yeah. It has been, this Vermont has been very good to us.
This afternoon we are going to see the total This and That circus here in the field behind me.
Delighted to see that finally the animal world took over and overwhelms the human world, at least in puppetry. So not in the real world. In the real world, unfortunately, the humans are dominant, and they are showing it by destructive means.
He uses paintings, puppets, colors, music.
Looks very much like animals have the upper hand.
I like what Peter says about bread nourishing you, and he talks about it like being something for the audience to chew on, like physically, as they're like chewing on these thoughts.
Bread and Puppet is a really unusual American theater company, making theater that is artistically sound and visually interesting, and uses puppets, but also addresses political issues and social issues.
Being a part of the theater, I'm very aware that I'm a part of something that is so much bigger than me and that has such an incredible history. I think that's what brought me here in the first place.
That's kind of part of the reason why I was interested, because Bread and Puppet was one of the first big American companies to do this and to get kind of a recognition.
And puppets are just amazing. Puppets are like the cheapest, fastest, awesomest way to like make some political theater and get out in the world.
When you have something like a puppet, you're disarmed because you think it's like a kid's thing, and then it's suddenly a really important message, and then it hits you right in the stomach.
That to me feels like real activism in daily life. activism and how you get things done.
Like you just go into the museum and like you're just surrounded by like history, like artistic history, and you like look at all these puppets and you like think about where they've been. And
For me, this is a place.
Okay, we can see it longer. You can search in YouTube and see a lot of his work there, Bread and Puppet Theatre. And here he used only on things which he makes with his hand. And I was just seeing how he makes this puppet. It's just newsprint and this maida, which even when I am asking my theatre people to use maida with hot water to make the glue, they say, sir, we can buy Fevicol. But this man, he makes maida in hot water and the traditional glue, and he does it himself and then makes these big puppets and he paints. He himself does it and he makes his own bread, he does it. So he has avoided all technology. It's the cheapest art. It's the most political art. It's the most multi-linear act. It happens, many things happen. And then there are other people like Robert Wilson. I'm afraid, it cannot be. Yeah, he can, such a Robert Wilson. See, Robert Wilson, he's more to the new kind of, and he's doing a sonnet of Shakespeare. And see the constructions behind, the lighting, the projections, the video, the use of sound, etc. It's the other end of postmodernism in theatre. From Peter Schumann to Robert Wilson is the distance. And the lighting. That's a reference to the sonnet by Shakespeare. Just tear it off. And then they take their own performance. See the set changing, new things coming in. Black cap going up, floating. So, what you have understood from the two clippings, there are many clippings. There's a theater known as Living Theater who started this movement in America, a husband and wife. They traveled alongside. They did their own productions. America has different rules in different states. They don't bother to obey the rules. So they travel from California to Oregon. Oregon be another side. They won't get the permission from the police or department to perform in an open park, etc. Sometimes the police come and arrest them, put them inside jail, and sometimes they take actors from the people. Some audience will be traveling and joining them. It's going ahead, and they are kind of crazy, disobeying the laws and doing very radical kind of theater. It's known as living theater. So what I want to tell you is that the theater is a cultural construct. And the culture itself is a political construct. So it's a very important thing. So theater is a cultural construct, whatever you mean by modernism or postmodernism. In modernism, there's a kind of scope for the other thing. But in postmodernism, it's really political statements about things that's happening around us, things happening, and the multiplicity of meanings, the lack of one answer. And we cannot have one answer. So that I don't know what you will understand when you see the cap floating up. And remember, they are singing a sonnet from Shakespeare. And the way they are made up, the facial expressions, the witchy looks, and the first tearing up of that great sonnet itself, and then recreating something different. So it's the perspective of the audience. What you understand, how do you relate to this is more important. And that's and globalization has made it together. And now, as he said in his thing, cultural studies are classifying culture into two kinds of coexistence. The first one is the melting pot, means every different cultures living in one nation or one place mixes together and merge together and make one thing. So it's making one culture, so that the diverse entities will be disappearing. And naturally, the sufferers are the minorities or the smaller cultures. For example, if it's take the American thing, the Native Americans, the Red Indian culture will be lost. And the Spanish culture will be lost. It's only the white culture that will be predominating. But now it's saying that it should be not a melting pot, it should be a salad culture. Means all the different entities should have its own identities. All the entities. It's a mixture of many things together, a salad, different vegetables and meat or whatever it is, but each has its own specific identities, and this is more politically right. The salad bowl culture and cultural study is more politically right than the other thing, and many times the postmodernism is going in that direction, where different entities are given space inside one performance, not a unilateral space. So in a nation, in a time when people are thinking about one culture, one form, one thing, one life, one way of life. And that's a very dangerous thing anywhere in the world. It's happening all around the world. In America, it is happening. So, and one interesting essay, I'll just end up with this slide. This is a very important thing. McDonald's and Kentucky Kentucky Kitchen finds right, where you cook kitchen. And this has become the global taste. See, how can you prepare your chicken? The Tamil Nadu cooking is different from the Kerala cooking. And in Kerala, the Malabari cooking is different from the Travancore cooking. So we have different ways of cooking chicken. And we have different taste. And different people are doing that. But now I ask you, what chicken you love to eat? What should be your favorite chicken? And most of the youngsters will say Kentucky or McDonald's. Why? So they're making a universal taste because it's easier for them to sell everywhere. If there's one taste, you can get the same chicken in United Nations, in New York, you can get it in Cochin, you can get it in Nagarkovil, you can get it in Peking also. In China also you can get it. So they're universalizing the taste. They're universalizing the culture, which is not a politically right thing. So how to keep the different tastes hold its value in performance is the question which the postmodern performers are looking into. So I think I just ran through the different trends in postmodern performance very vaguely. I don't know whether I could make sense to you, because for you, it's performance itself is a new genre than the understanding or reading of a play as in a classroom. And this is the new things happening in the performance arena. And I need not tell you that the proscenium stage is removed already. There is no curtain going up and down. It's maybe an open space, it may be this room, it may be your yard, it may be a theater, it can be a theater also. But the aesthetics is different, the methodology is different, the creativity is different, the linearity is different, the narrativity is different, and the way you deal the text is also different. So when you see one of my plays or anybody's plays, I have been asked by this question. So when I did Shakespeare, some professors of very learned professors came and asked me, see, in that line, did Shakespeare meant that? Did Shakespeare meant that? Then I said, I will ask Shakespeare when I meet him next. That's the only thing I can say. So that's a stupidity. To be or not to be. That's the lines. Stanislavski, the first modern director, asked his actors, to be or not to be. Whose lines is it? The actors said, either Hamlet or Shakespeare. Then he said, no and no. It is the lines of you, the actor. You say it. You create the meaning. You create the meaning, and that meaning is important, not the meaning in the text or in the dictionary. So on stage, these meanings disappear. There is no one meaning for a word, as in your literature class or in your dictionary, in your thesaurus. When I say, I love you, it can be that I will kill you, can be the thing inside me. So you can say it the way you want. So the words are immaterial. Your motive is more important. The way you say is more important. And many lovers, when intense moments of love, say, I'll kill you. It means I will love you to that extent. And even when I say I love you with the love meaning itself, in which depth, how much, the extent, all these are created by the way you speak the word. And plus the other associations put on stage, other images, the body language, the context in which you are saying, all these things. So the dictionary meaning disappears in performance. So we cannot go in our traditional way of understanding things while we are watching a performance. So I just will stop it abrupt here. It's a postmodern presentation.
Thank you, sir. It was so exciting to hear a chemistry faculty talking about postmodernism, the death of the author by Roland Barthes, deconstruction and reconstruction, postmodern theater, and finally ended up with McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's the right time. Good food is all the sweeter when shared with good friends. So far, we had food for our ears. Now it's time to break for lunch, which is being served at the auditorium. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper, says Adele Davis. Hope you have all had your lunch like princes and princesses. Now we have gathered here for the plenary session 2 of the National Conference on Drama as a Multimedial Narrative. In the morning session, we listened to the lectures of Dr. K. Ganesh and Professor Chandra Dasan. This certainly broadened our horizons of knowledge in the area of drama and the postmodern theatre. Now it's time to listen to the other guest of honor, Dr. N. Irango, Associate Professor, PG, and Research Department of English, the American College, Madurai. May I now call upon our beloved Professor, Dr. K. Kannamutaya Madam, to introduce the guests to the audience. Please, ma'am.
It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our next resource person, Dr. Ilango, Associate Professor and Head Postgraduate and Research Department of English, the American College, Madurai. He is an alumnus of the American College and he has did his BA degree in the year 1982, MA in 84, MPhil in the year 1986, and his research topic for MPhil is poetry as records of life, a thematic study of Nazim Cycle's poetry. He has done his doctoral research in Indian drama entitled Beyond Myth, the Pattern Movement in the Plays of Asif Karimboy. He joined as a faculty of his alma mater in the year 1986 as an assistant professor, head of the department since 2013, and he is a founder director of the Fourth Wall Theatre, an on-campus academic theatre. And this Fourth Wall Theatre is an on-campus academic theatre which stages plays by classic playwrights annually, which are watched more than 500 vibrant audience from academic institutions all over the state. The performances run for an entire week from Monday through Saturday with 2 shows every day. The production crew involves nearly 100 students and staff members, providing space for developing English speeches, practices on speeches, effective communication, focusing on both verbal and non-verbal modes, acting, ensemble of sensory perceptions, teamwork, planning, time and stress management, event management skills, set designing, costume and makeup. The major productions of the Fourth Wall Theatre include Shakespeare's A Midsummer's Night Dream, The Merchant of Venice, Macbeth, As You Like It, Twelfth Night, Romeo and Juliet, and The Taming of the Shrew. Conducted a workshop on staging Shakespeare for Yadava College for Women. He is also an official translator of the transgender and social activist Kalki Subramaniam, and he has translated her poems, which has been published in the international journal Kavya Bharati. And he has also authored a book titled Film Appreciation for Beginners. With this short note, may I invite Sir to deliver his address. I hand over the session to Sir. Thank you.
நீங்கள் பார்த்துக் கொண்டிருப்பது உங்கள் கதிர் டிவி.